Gamestars Clash Royale Season 2 is running full steam, packed with high-octane action, intricate strategy, and mountains of gold. Mix the elixirs and hop on your hog, Chief. Time to find out who will dominate the clans. Subscribe, join our stream, and witness brave heroes fighting in Gamestars Clash Royale Season 2. Ride on, Biggie!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Gamestars Season 2. We're in the Western European Regional Finals today, which means that 8 players are going to be battling it out head-to-head in best of 5s to get a chance to go to our international group stage and then international finals, where over $30,000 will be up for grabs. Hello everybody, I am Andrew Guy, and once again, it's very good to see you here. Good morning if you're here on the West Coast with me, or good evening if you are over in the Western European region. Over 40 countries submitted players to come to Gamestars League, and we are down to 8 players at least today, and we'll see another group tomorrow battling it out here in the Western European Regional Finals. $1,000 up for grabs here just in the regional finals, but a lot more once you get through. 4 players will work their way through to the international group stage, and yes, these are the gentlemen, the players, the talent that are up today. St. Belican, Majran, Ligan, CR, Inthrill is back once again. Game Freak TV, you might know that name. Sasa, Kike Star, and Omer. Players, like I said, from all over the world. Our very first matchup will be St. Belican and Majran. Majran from Poland and Belican from the UK. Both of these guys pretty young. You know, Belican is 19, Majran is 16, so he's right across that CRL age range that you have to be. You have to be over 16 years old to compete at CRL. Gamestars is probably one of the best semi-pro / amateur tournaments in the world, and very, very happy to be back. Best of 5s, that's right. 6 best of 5s will be coming your way today, and that is our schedule for the day. St. Belican and Majran to kick things off. Ligan, CR, and Inthrill from Poland will be up next. After that, Game Freak TV going up against Sasa from Montenegro. And then, like I said, Kike Star from Spain will be going up against Omer. And then we will have 2 more matches after the original 4 as we get to the semifinals here in our bracket. This is just the left side of the bracket here in the Western European Regional Finals, and then tomorrow we'll be over on the right side of the bracket. We're going to work our way through each of these days to get to our grand finals. Like I said before, 4 players from each region will be making it through to our international group stage. My friend Eric Benamou and I cast the last Gamestars international group stage all the way through the international finals. It was incredible. Hugo ended up taking home the victory from LA Gaming. I'm not sure if he's still with them, but St. Belican actually has spent some time with LA Gaming. You guys probably know him better from Cream Royale Betis and, of course, Team Queso. This is going to be a very interesting first matchup when we talk about the varying levels of skill and, of course, experience between St. Belican and Majran. Now, here at Gamestars, we do have a bit of a different format. Now, we know that CRL is in duels. We know that most of the competitions out there are in duels, but Gamestars has a little bit of a twist on duels, and I actually kind of love this format. So each player has to bring 3 decks to the competition. Those decks can repeat 6 of the same cards in each deck, so you can go with the same win condition all the way across the board, but you have to swap out 2 cards every single time. So not only are these decks pre-submitted, but they have to win with all 3 of those decks, which makes it very, very difficult if you have one deck out there that doesn't match up well in the current meta, or maybe you have one deck out there that's kind of a 100-0 matchup percentage, depending on what it's going to be going up against. And we saw a lot of that in our last season of Gamestars, where we'd have competitors come out and they'd give you the 1-2 punch, but they could not close things out with their 3rd and final deck. Now, that's going to be very, very difficult to do, and that's why a big part of Gamestars is not only knowing how to play with all the different decks in the meta and being up on the current meta and what your opponent's going to be playing, but also having an analyst out there that's going to help you pick 3 solid decks that don't all have the same weaknesses, right? Because you are able to switch around decks. You do get to come back to specific decks if you lose with them. You got to keep your opponents guessing at all time. That's a big, big part of Clash Royale. The last thing before we get into our matches that's very unique about this specific part of the Gamestars competition is we have a massive massive balance update coming your way here on Monday. So none of that is in effect yet, obviously, as it is Friday and we have a few more days. But the beginning of this competition is going to be very different than the end of this competition. So here we go. You see it on the left-hand side of your screen. Best of 5, the regional finals for Western Europe. St. Belican top of your screen, Majron at the bottom. And St. Belican's going to come out hot and heavy with the Graveyard early on. Baby Dragon Graveyard, we've seen a lot more iterations of Splash Yard being pretty successful in the current meta on Grand Challenges and on Top Ladder. The only real big difference from what we've seen in the past is usually a card, in the sense of maybe it's Bomber, and with the Fireball replacing, of course, Poison. That is one of the most classic kind of combinations with Splash Yard Graveyard, is having that Poison in there with Tornado. But Fireball, really important. You see taking that Mother Witch off the board, which is what you're going to have to do 100% of the time. And this is, again, pre-balance changes. We'll see how much this changes once those balance changes come in on Monday. Poison getting a massive buff with that 15% movement speed reduction if you're standing in that Poison. That's going to help a lot with bridge battles. That's going to help a lot with defense in general. And I'm excited about it. I think seeing Poison get a buff will change quite a bit of things up in regards to the meta. We might see more minor Poison. We might see more Goizen. That's giant Poison for you guys that don't know the slang, if it were. But here we go. Majron bottom of your screen. He's going to go with the Royal Recruits plus the Goblin Drill. Goblin Drill still the most popular win condition in the game right now. It will be getting a nerf, which I think is very, very important. It's going to have one less Goblin spawn. And we see there St. Belican missing the Tornado, getting a massive amount of damage in on that left-hand tower. Goblins on the tower. You miss the NATO there. Goblin Cage not doing anything. A Mega Minion has to come down late. This is not where you want to be with just 1 minute left here in regulation. Obviously, Graveyard is going to get stronger and stronger as time goes on. But with only 700 HP remaining on the tower, this is a very tough spot for St. Belican to be in right now. We see the Fireball come down, clean up the Zappies, take off that Goblin Cage. Goblin Brawler going to come out and tank for these Royal Recruits. Royal Recruits going to turn around, take that Bar Barrel off the board. Brawler meets Brawler, and now Brawler meeting Recruits. And of course, the Goblin Drill back on the tower. We'll see how Belican wants to deal with this. He decides to go with the Valkyrie. Great response here. Going to help clean up very minimal damage. But as you can see, both lanes in a lot of trouble for St. Belican. NATO there trying to pull everything in. Doesn't get the Bomber off the board, though. A bit unfortunate there for Belican, but he does take it off with that Baby Dragon Belch there at the end. Bar Barrel comes out. Mega Minion plus Valkyrie on defense. That tower's going to go down below 600 HP. 886 on one side, 553 on the other, to a very, very healthy couple of towers here from Majron. And remember, if St. Belican does not win this game, he will have to come back to this deck. Majron will be able to move on to the next deck in his arsenal. Piggy's populating the board. Mother Witch gonna get taken off with that Fireball. The thing about this, though, is that Graveyard is always still in it, right? We know it's one of the most deadly win conditions in the game, and while Belican only has 465 damage remaining on that left-hand tower, he can keep up the pressure, keep those Graveyards coming, and it's going to be very difficult for Majron to find good moments to get that Goblin Drill back out. There you go. Fireball in once again from Belican. Baby Dragon up close. Brawler going to get some splash damage on the tower. Baby Dragon going to get there. 440 to 465. Now we see Majron piling up on the right-hand side. Drill is in. Valkyrie going to go down low. Mega Minion up high. Mega Minion able to clean up the Recruits with pretty minimal damage. And we see that Tornado coming in last second to protect that left-hand tower, and as well as the right. 886 still remaining on that right-hand side. Brawler off the board. Nice Fireball there. 268. Getting in dangerously close spell cycle range here for Belican, and this is where a big part of his experience is going to be coming through. He's been in CRL for numerous seasons, like I said, with Team Queso, and of course, Cream Royale Betis. Nato going to pull everything in close. Brawler plus Baby Dragon. Majron might be getting overwhelmed here in the final moments. 268. Pile up at the river. Everything coming in. Valkyrie there to catch the drill. Does Majron have enough? I don't think so. Fireball in. That is going to do it. And all Majron can do is laugh it off. A very, very beautiful hold there from St. Belican. Some mistakes early on brought a lot of damage on both of those towers, but that's the thing with Graveyard. He was able to hold on, over defend, and wait for his moment. As I was saying, deeper and deeper into the game will you get stronger and stronger with Graveyard. As we get to double and triple elixir, as it starts flowing more rapidly, that is when Graveyard really starts to hurt, starts to punish your opponent. You see here, very little elixir leaked on both sides. A lot of spell elixir spent there by Belican when you talk about the fireballs and the tornadoes. Goblin Cages coming out, doing a lot of help for him. And really, I think the most impressive thing about this game was, in spite of Majran going up by a lot early on, Belican recognizing the matchup, recognizing what he needed to do, also knowing that there's very little direct tower damage coming in from his opponent from Poland. Just the arrows, which you saw only one time, and of course the Goblin Drill, which you saw 7 times. But the drill, as we all know, not really about the damage it does when it lands, much more about when those goblins spawn. And we saw one misplayed defense from Belican throughout that entire game, and we're up 1-0. Belican won over Majran, and Majran can come back to this deck that you're seeing on the right hand side of your screen. He might find himself in a better matchup later on down the road. Belican had some good stuff here, right? He had a lot of great splash damage. The Goblin Cage was able to pull things towards the center there. He was able to use a last second tornado late in double elixir to ensure the health of that right hand tower, staying in a position to where he was always in a great position to defend adequately on both sides, take a little bit of damage where he could so that he could create more and more pressure. And as we saw as the game went on, those bridge battles, he was able to win those with not only tanky units but good amount of DPS. The Mega Minion there helping a lot with the single target DPS. We saw it not only defend the recruits at one moment, but again, having that big body up at the bridge made it very difficult late game for Majran to get those Goblin Drills out. So here we go. Game number 2. Belican up 1. These are best of 5s, first to 3. And now we're going to see Belican switch things up. Miner coming out early on here. Electro Spirit on both sides. Does seem to be... Actually, with all the spirits, it seems that it just depends on the deck. For a long time there, we saw the Fire Spirit being basically the only choice. Then Ice Spirit came back. Electro Spirit still incredibly strong. We see here Expo coming out from Majran. Expo, not a very popular card at the highest level, or excuse me, we'll say win condition, at the highest level of competitive play, just because if your opponent has a good matchup, or if they understand the matchup, which they all do, Expo is one of the most popular win conditions when we talk about grand challenges and top ladder. Belican knows this matchup inside and out, so Majran going to have to do some finagling of the skills to get that Expo to actually lock on tower. Belican, as you saw in the last game, incredibly patient, going to be happy to sit and wait things out and get that minor damage in where and when he can. This is a very popular version of Mortar right now. I just saw it maybe pop up a couple days ago, and since then I've seen it in the Brenchon Cup, and now we're seeing it early on here in Gamestars League. Last card, I believe, should be... It's usually either Poison or Snowball. Probably going to go with Poison, though, since we already see a log out here from Belican and the Electro Spirit. A lot of great cycle cards, as you can see. He can get back around very, very quickly for very cheap. And that's going to be tough for Majran to get on tower when you talk about how quickly Belican can get back around. Game Freak TV in the chat. Good to see you. I'm going to be trying to check in on the chat as much as I can while calling these matches, and going to be excited to see him play here in a little bit. Valkyrie going to come out and try to protect that Mortar, and a high Musketeer going to get on top of the Archers and the Tesla. Log comes out in both directions, takes the Musketeer off the board, gets a little bit more damage on that Tesla of Majran's. And now we see another attempt at an Expo connection. We're going to go defensive Mortar here. Maybe we'll see a Poison. We're going to go Miner probably to the back of the Expo. He goes Fireball once again instead. Fireball, you know, great choice, knowing that Mother Witch is still in play from his opponent, so being able to choose Fireball as a spell over and over again. 6 cards can repeat. 2 cards must be unique every single time. And Majran, all he can really do at this moment, it seems, is just kind of laugh it off. He's going to switch lanes here. Fireball going to come out up high. No, goes down low this time. Miner low. We get Archers up high, and that this Expo could have a chance at connecting. No, we see some Spear Goblins come out. They're going to soak up a little bit of that damage. And again, Majron just in a really, really tough spot. Maybe we see a defensive Mortar come down. No, he does go Valkyrie once again. And Miner on top of the Expo this time. Yes, Miner is on top. Skeleton's there to clean up. Nice log to take it off the board. And as of this moment, it does appear that Belican has Majron's number, just ahead by a few hundred HP, but doing a very, very nice job. Defensive Mortar going to come out. 90 seconds left of gameplay. Fireball in. That's the most significant damage that we've seen from Majron so far. Log plus Miner on that right-hand side. Going to chip that tower down to below 1,800 HP. And now we see another Expo coming out for Majron. First going to go to the Mortar, then to the Valkyrie. We'll see where the Fireball wants to come in, or if he's just going to try to defend with troops. There's the Fireball on top of the tower. And the Expo log going to come in. That Archer, nothing to worry about. Defensive Mortars working out well here in the final 60 seconds. Maybe we start to see a spell cycle race, 2036 to 1762. Problem is, Majron did not start cycling spells early enough. So he has to get that Expo connection because Belican is ahead of him and he can cycle as quickly as him, 1470 to 2036. And appears to be trouble for Majron. We see a Mortar come out defensively. Fireball in on top of the Mortar. Valkyrie there once again. Miner going to go to the tower. Fireball on top of the units. We're going to get a log as well. There it is. Just rinse and repeat. And this is why what I was saying earlier on, Expo is very, very tough at the highest level. Not only do most every single pro out there have a ton of experience playing Expo themselves, but they probably have even more experience playing against Expo. And as we've seen in this game, once you recognize that matchup, once you play patiently, almost impossible to get on top of the tower. Fireball in, log in, Fireball to the King Tower. Majron is down 2-0. Belican takes game number 1 with a bit of difficulty. Game number 2, incredibly easy when you talk about knowing the matchup, playing patiently. And again, Belican at 19 years old, years and years of competitive CRL as a professional player, whether it's here in the States, or I should say here in the States for CRL, but playing for teams like Cream, like Queso. He's got the best players around him. He's had great support staffs around him. And just the experience. And we saw that in both of these games. Never getting ahead of himself, never getting impatient, never trying to force anything, just understanding the matchup specifically here in game number 2 with Expo, knowing when to defend with his Mortar, knowing when to defend with his Valkyrie, and of course, always getting some damage in on the towers. That I think is the most crucial part of what we're talking about, is always getting the damage in on towers, whether it was with his logs or with the fireballs, and of course, sending that Miner to tower as much as possible. So really nice start here for St. Belican. Not quite the same from Majron for Poland. He's having a bit of difficulty here. This is also an interesting place to be in when you talk about your opponent knowing what decks you can come out with. We've already seen 2 of Majron's decks. He's been unsuccessful with both. So now does he go to his 3rd deck? Does he go back to Expo, which he got down 10 times in this last game? Or does he go back to the tried and true win condition in the current meta of the Goblin Drill? That's the only thing we're going to have to wait and see. What deck does he come out with? Belican on the other side of it, he can only go to the 3rd deck of choice. And that actually puts Majron in a good position. If he's able to win this next game, game number 3, he knows that Belican has to play that deck back to back to back as many times until he wins with it. That's the only good thing about going down 2 games early on. So here we go. Belican, top of your screen with the Fire Spirit. Majron at the bottom, already playing for his life. If he does lose this game, he will go into the lower bracket, I believe. No, excuse me, these are the regional finals, so he will be eliminated from competition if he does not make it through. So kind of a tough start there when you talk about who you're paired up against, a guy that's had a ton of experience and has been very, very good at the highest level for a long time. Belican had to take some time off from CRL for university, as he says, and Majron just still not feeling great about his position. He's going to laugh that one off, and he's going to drop some Royal Recruits in the back. Belican gets a little bit more damage on tower. Most likely going to have Valkyrie, Tornado, and Fireball as those final three cards. There There it is, Fireball out, Valkyrie in, and probably, like I was saying, the last card will most likely be Tornado. Not going to have to use it here. Nice use of the Fire Spirit to clean everything up, and the only towers that have been touched so far are in opposing corners, 21-17 to 21-03. Close here, as we are 40 seconds away from double elixir. Both these players just taking a breath at the moment. Goblin Drill going to come in for Belican. Dark Prince there to respond. Dark Prince Bomber, so popular in the meta right now. We'll see if that continues on through Monday. Neither of those cards getting affected by the balance changes that are coming in. Excuse me, that is not true. Bomber getting a slight attack range nerf, which I think is a good thing. That range with the splash can be very, very tough. It's very easy for people to just pile on a drill plus bomber at the bridge and get a lot of damage out of that, or at least demand a very high response out of their opponent. So nice fireball there from Belican to clean everything up in the center of the map. We keep seeing Majron send out the #1 CRL emote. I think he's feeling the pressure here of his CRL competitor in St. Belican. Drill back down, Bomber plus Dark Prince in response. Valkyrie working down that right-hand lane, so Belican does have about an even elixir matchup. Both of these guys about to tick to 10 just a moment ago. Magic Archer comes down on one side, Zappy split in the other, and we'll see if Belican tries to do something cheeky here with that Magic Archer. High recruits saying no way, no how. There's the lineup, and there's the tower connection. Exactly what we were expecting out of Belican. Not really a hyper-aggressive play when you talk about what he has on the right-hand side to lock things up. Min-maxing, taking some damage to get a lot of damage out. 942 to 1681. Majron feeling the heat. Fire Spirit not going to connect, but look at that. Magic Archer right there on the tower once again. He predicted the plays. He predicted the stop. When he lined up that Fire Spirit as many times as he did, Majron knew he had to stop and defend it. A beautiful, beautiful Magic Archer lineup. Hits the tower 2 in a row. 2 beautiful Magic Archer lineups in a row. That second one, though, was just magnificent. You talk about getting into the mind of your opponent. He sends out the Fire Spirit, demanding a response from his opponent. His opponent knew he was low in HP, so he had to defend. He over-defends with the high Goblin Cage, and Belican is right there with that Magic Archer lineup, which you knew was a possibility. He went for it in the previous interaction, the previous offensive push, and he did get a great amount of damage there on top of those royal recruits, but this was just really tough stuff here. So here we go. This is game #1. Majron's closest game in the entire set. 173 HP remains on that top left-hand tower. Here's game #2. Expo versus Mortar. There's the fireball to King Tower. Majron says, no way, no how am I going to break through. Let's go to game #3 and see if he can make some magic happen. But unfortunately for him, Belican on top of everything. Great plays in game #3. Here's that final lineup. High Goblin Cage, Dark Prince, everything is there. The Mother Witch goes up high. NATO pulls everything back. Fireball in to clean up all the defense. And the same Magic Archer that started that onslaught goes ahead and closes things out. An easy 3-2-0 here from St. Belican, as you can see right there. All of his decks above the 3 elixir cycle. 3.6 was his heaviest deck the first game that he played. That is one of the most popular versions of Graveyard in the meta right now. The only difference is sometimes you'll see Fireball swapped out for Poison, but with how effective Mother Witch is, it's not something you really want to toy with, so it's basically always going to be Fireball. Mega Minion can be swapped out for other cards as well. We've seen Ice Wizard, we've seen Bomber, but I really liked this version for Belican because of that single target DPS that is sometimes lacking in Graveyard decks. We go to game #2. That Minor Mortar deck has a really, really nice cycle, has great single target DPS. And again, since you're able to reuse spells, Fireball, when you don't know if your opponent's going to come out with Mother Witch again or not, a great spell to keep in the game, at least for right now, before Poison does get a bit of a rework. And of course, game #3, like you saw there, Belican making it look easy with those Magic Archer lineups. Not as easy as he made it look. So we are already through one of our games in the bracket today with an easy 3-0 sweep for St. Belican. And there you go. Now you can see at the bottom of your screen, that is our elimination bracket where we will see Majron waiting for his opponent. So Belican starts off 3-0. He can hang out for a little while. He will be playing again later on today, he'll be playing up against either Inthrill or Ligan CR, which is what we're going to see next here. Ligan? Legion? You guys let me know in the chat if I'm mispronouncing it, and if I am, I apologize. After that, we got Game Freak TV and Sasa, and of course, to close out the first part, the quarterfinals of our Western European regional finals, is going to be Kike Star against Omer. That'll be our fourth matchup of the day, and then we'll get into the second round in the semifinals, where we'll at least see one player we know, St. Belican. Really, really great start for the young man from the UK. Actually, I should say maybe one of the older players from the UK now. I mean, we've been watching Belican for so long. He's now 19 years old. 20 is the oldest age that we have here so far in Gamestars, which makes me feel very, very old. And if you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the Gamestars YouTube channel. Go and follow them at GamestarsCR on Twitter. Turn on your notifications here. We're going to be back every single day, same time, same place, for the next couple days as we work through the Western European Regional Finals, which is 10 a.m. here on the West Coast, or of course 7 p.m. Central European Summertime. Inthrill is back. If you watched season 1 of GameStars CR, he had a really nice run. Wasn't able to take home the gold, but he did play very, very well. I'm excited to see him back in the mix. And Inthrill just going to allow that Bandit to connect on the right-hand side. He's going to go with minions here on the left-hand side. Most likely going to let the Dark Prince connect there as well. So taking a lot of damage early on. Going to try to make something happen with, I was going to say, Lava Hound most likely. When you see that much damage coming in, you see both those units in the air. Really trying to min-max here. He's going to have to defend that cannon cart. He does. He goes Miner on top of the cannon cart for a nice +2 trade, which is going to work out well for him because now we have a very healthy Lava Hound, I'd say about 3/4 HP, and a Bomber here. Skeleton's maybe going to come down to defend. Yes, they do. Skeleton is there to match. And now we're going to see a bit of trouble maybe for Ligan. Yep, Lava Hound on the tower, Balloon behind, Balloon going to take out this Goblin Drill and then going to work its way right on through. He should, no, he's not back around to the Electro Wizard, so just going to take a tower down maybe. Fireball comes in late, and that is a rough start. 293 remaining on that tower. Bomb goes off now to 94 HP. That can be completely ignored by Inthrill now for the rest of this game until he needs to take it out, most likely with a spell, or he could just send in his Miner and hope something good happens. Sets up a Lava Hound here on the right-hand side. Ligan, tough matchup here, not having the Electro Wizard in cycle, and also not having a ton of single-target DPS for the skies. So we're going to see the Miner go into the E-Wiz. Nice play there with the Dark Prince. Dark Prince still not able to protect that Electro Wizard as he'd like. And look at that. Bandit does come down in time to defend. That Inferno Dragon causing a world of hurt on this tower, now soaking up the attention of the Mother Witch. Does get a decent amount of damage in. Fireball does have to come down, but you see a nice Elixir lead here in the side of Inthrill. So what does he do? He sets up for the Inferno in the left-hand lane, because what did we just see in that last exchange? That Ligan had difficulty taking the Inferno Dragon off the board. So now creating a little bit of pressure here in both lanes. Inthrill knows he has the upper hand. That's a really, really great job of just recognizing your matchup, recognizing what you have to deal with here, and again, min-maxing. It's something that I'm going to say a lot here in the tournaments because it's really, really important to recognize. Miner going to do the long walk, going to help out with that Dark Prince push. A bit of fortunate interaction there for Inthrill, who's, you know, getting a little saucy here on the left-hand side. Tower down to below 1,300 on both sides of the board. Mother Witch plus Electro Wizard on the tower. Mother Witch retargets. Fireball in on top of that Bomber. That might be enough. Wow. Ligan needed 1 second more to take that to a 2-tower game where he actually would have been in the lead. He had more damage done on the right-hand side of the board than Inthrill did. I believe it was like 1092 to 1500 something. And Lava Hound does struggle a bit in a 2-tower game just because of how slow the Lava Hound is. You have to get that balloon behind to create a real offensive presence. The Miners, as much as you'd like them to go to the tower and tank for those lava pups, a lot of time they're going to have to snipe units off the board like that Mother Witch, like that Electro Wizard. So Inthrill saved by the bell in a bit of a tough matchup. Again, when we talk about what you have in regards to air defense, and Inthrill just had a great matchup here. The game got a little bit off the rails there at the end, but I think a big part of that was maybe the comfortability he had and the confidence he had in what he was running. So One game in favor of the Polish player. Maybe doing a little bit of reparations for Majran, who struggled in round number 1. And as you can see there, arrows were the spell in hand for Inthril. Plus that miner would have been easy to take that left-hand tower down. Defense going a bit off the rails late game, but here we go. Game number 2, Inthril up 1. And Heal Spirit coming out early on with the Bandit, so some form of Brute Spam here. Might see Ram Rider. Might also see, there was a version of Bridge Spam with Magic Archer, Ram Rider, Inferno out there for a while with Heal Spirit. I think Reichert was maybe the first person to post that. It was either him or Schwarzen, so we'll see if it's anything like that. Could be something completely different. And with that Lumberjack coming in, makes me think that's what we should be expecting. Other side of the board, we see a Valkyrie and a Cannon Cart, so pretty heavy so far. But, wow, look at that. Lumberjack right on top of the tower. Fireball comes in. There's the mortar that we were expecting, probably Royal Hogs. Yes, there they are. Royal Hogs come down. Bandit going to be there. Bandit not going to be able to get the damage from that mortar, the attention from the mortar. So mortar locked on tower. Cannon Cart there to defend. Bandit dealing with those Royal Piggies. High Valkyrie now going to get this Bandit off the board. Tanking for, of course, the Bandit, helping that Cannon Cart out. Mortar just living on the tower in Inthril with dominance in game number 1, down early here in game number 2 with, yep, this is exactly the deck we thought we were running. Nice Heal Spirit there to get on top of that Ram Rider. Not able to protect the Magic Archer. And about double damage done here by Lygan early on the left-hand side of the board. Barb Barrel going to come out, going to work its way to the tower. We'll see if Lygan wants to eat those 2 swings. He decides yes, he does because of his lead, but now below 1,000 HP. Maybe not the best place you want to be in. And in regards to a 2-tower game, I'd say it's relatively even. Probably going to give the matchup to Lygan just because he can create a lot of pressure still with his Royal Hogs, and he'll only need to use that mortar to defend against those Piggies. Or excuse me, the Ram Rider. Piggies are on the other side. The Lumberjack cycled in the back once again. Magic Archer going to be distracted by those Piggies that we were just talking about. Lumberjack going to get cleaned off. Late Heal Spirit there, not able to keep the Lumberjack alive, but now a raged up Bandit going to work towards that left-hand tower. Inthril going to pile things on here with the Ram Rider. This is exactly what we're talking about. Ram Rider comes in, Mortar comes down. Lumberjack going to take this delivery off the board. And no connection, but a nice lineup here for Inthril. Going to get at least a few shots in on this tower. High Musketeer going to come in, try to stop the bleeding, but damage already done. 429 to 375. In what felt like a very one-sided matchup. Wow, Bandit barely placed out of range for the Musketeer, but tower does its job. Takes it off the board. Bandit going to get on top of the mortar. Ram Rider there as well. Cannon Cart falls off of its wheels. 257 to 375. Earthquake in. Log in with the Lumberjack. Can he stop this push from the Piggies? No, he cannot. We are even going to game number 3. Loved what we saw there out of Lygan. He stroked hard and early, but Inthril able to come back, defend pretty well throughout, make this very, very close game. That deck is very strong, but maybe not in that specific matchup, or maybe just not with how it started off. You know, we saw maybe a bit of an overcommitment there from Inthril. That Bandit was not able to take the attention from the mortar or adequately defend against the Royal Hogs. So we saw kind of a really tough place for Inthril to be in when you talk about defending there. You know what the idea probably was basically just to at least stop the bleeding in regards to the mortar getting damage on tower. He knew that the Piggies were going to be a problem, but he ended up taking the brunt of both of those 2 offensive cards. Mortar locks on tower, Piggies break on through, and then late game we saw that Earthquake plus Piggies push. No real good way to stop those Royal Hogs. No building in hand, as you can see. 0 elixir spent on buildings from Inthril. That mortar, even though early on it was the damage dealer, late game, as you'd expect, it ended up just being there to take the attention, soak up the attention from that Ram Rider. We see 3 mortars come out, 3 Ram Riders came down. I believe only 1 Ram Rider connected. And while Heal Spirit is a great card when it works, Inthril was maybe just a step behind a handful of times when you talk about getting that Heal Spirit in on top of those units to create a lot more pressure. So even 1-1 here in this best of 5. Lygan from Spain, top of your screen. Inthril from Poland at the bottom. Game 1 goes to Inthril. Game 2 goes to Lygan. And now we're going to see a bit of a change up here. Nice use of arrows there. Mother Witch going to create a lot of damage here on that left-hand side. Tanking for the piggies. One piggy tanking for the other one. Mother Witch gets some good damage in. That tower's going to go below 1,500 HP. But a Golem working down the left-hand lane. And an interesting Golem composition so far with the Zappies. Bomber, one of the biggest problems, I think, with Bomber in the game is we're not really seeing it right now. Nice clone. Nice fireball there on top of that clone. Bats are going to come in and take that Inferno off the board. Fireball, pretty effective, but Golem clone, Golem clone, Golem clone. One of the most frustrating matchups in the game if you don't have the cards that you need to deal with it. And I know a lot of people out there are very excited about the Mother Witch nerf. Or excuse me, the Night Witch and the Mother Witch nerf. Mother Witch gonna lose 4% of her HP, but the Night Witch gonna spawn bats a little more quickly. In general, it's gonna go from 4 seconds to 1 second for that very first bat spawn interaction, which will get those bats out nice and early. And then the spawn rate will go from 7 seconds to 5 seconds. But the most important thing, especially when we talk about Golem clone, is when that Night Witch goes off the board, there will be 0 bats spawned, and as we just saw right there, trouble. So Night Witch clone coming in on the right-hand side to try to stop the balloon. Not really what he wanted to do. I'm pretty sure he just wanted those bats to turn around and get on top of the balloon, but doesn't really matter. 132 HP remains on the Princess, 836 on the King Tower, and knowing Inthrill, he's just going to play this very calm, try to get that 2-tower game down, start cycling units here right at the river, try to get on top of this pile-up. Arrow's going to come in, help that bomber out with splash damage. Only real threat at this moment is making sure that this balloon is stopped. Zappy's going to come in and help things out, but a very nice fireball from Lygan going to make it so that this is going to be a tower down as well. So 836 to 132 on one side of the board, and only a King Tower remains for Inthrill. We see a Golem here in the pocket. Does the Fisherman pull? What a nice Fisherman pull there. 132 HP remains. Inthrill in trouble. He's going to clone it. Golem not going to get to tower in time. Arrows are in. Can the Golems just get one hit in time? Yes, they do. Balloon, though, in the pocket. Fisherman there to tank. On tower. Zappy's going to go off the board. Inferno Dragon distracted by those bats. Balloon gonna get another drop in. That's gonna do it. Lygan, 3 crowns Inthrill with the Golem clone. Doesn't give up early on. Able to defend. A really, really nice defense there on the right-hand side so that just a little more elixir had to be dropped. We saw the clone have to come down. Arrows come down as well after that Golem got pulled away from a very nicely placed Fisherman by Lygan. And you know what? I'm not usually a person that is biased at all on broadcast, but I hate Golem clone. I really do, and I thought at least early on in that game we were going to see Golem clone do exactly what Golem clone does, which is just overrun your opponent. One push early on, get that clone in on the Night Witch, the bats do their work, tower goes down, but a really nice effort from both sides of the board. Honestly, the Golem in the pocket was a very predictable play, but I believe that clone, the clone was iffy. Might have worked, might have still been a tower down, but I loved that Fisherman pull from Lygan. Really, really great heads-up play from that young man, and we are going to game number 4 with Lygan, at least in regards to Gamestars, the rookie, whereas Inthrill has a lot of experience here in this specific league. Just to give you a little bit of information on these two guys. Inthrill, as we just saw from Poland, he's 17 years old. Lygan on the other side of it from Spain, 16 years old, so I'm about double his age. But really, really nice, mature plays there. He found his moments when he needed to attack, was able to make a lot happen. You can see only 3 balloons came out, but those balloons were very, very effective. Basically towered down every single time we saw them. Only 2 Fishermen's played by Lygan, but that second Fisherman, that Fisherman across the river in opponent territory, pulling the Golem back, made it so that Inthrill had to overspend. As you can see here, Inthrill had a lot of cheap cards and a handful of expensive ones as well. We talk about Night Witch, Golem, and the Prince, but then of course on the other side of it we had Bats, Bomber, and Clone. So here we go, game number 4. Inthrill in trouble right now, needs to take this game if he wants to continue his run in the upper bracket for Gamestars League. Goblin Drill out early from Inthrill. Bandit going to be there to stop that Dark Prince charge. Other side of it, Bandit going to meet Bandit. And we'll see what Lygan decides to pull here. Kessler going to come out early for defense. That should get him back around to the Skeletons. Skeletons, we'll see if he wants to use here. He should, yeah. Skeleton's going to come down, take that Bandit off the board. You see Goblin Drill plus Bomber going opposite lane. Perfect timing there. Bomber going to try to get on tower. Bomber does get on tower. High Mother Witch played, so Bomber going to go to work here for a little bit, but Lygan much more concerned about getting those piggies on the board. Problem is with the Bomber there, Piggy's not going to have a lot of at least not a lot of piggies coming across the river. Nice use of Skeletons there to soak up a bit of the damage. Ram Rider not able to get on top of a tower, but look at that right-hand lane. The overspend there from Inthrill with the Skeletons, with the Dark Prince, means that a ton of damage is coming in on this right-hand lane. Almost tower down, 514 to 1211. And Lygan, once again, doing a great job early on in the game here to put Inthrill in a very uncomfortable position. Battle on Clan saying good luck Inthrill, and right now he is going to need it, having a bit of struggles here in his elimination, not elimination game, in a game that will send him down to the lower bracket. Goblin Drill plus Bomber once again. Can't imagine that Lygan's going to want to take as much damage as he did from the Bomber, but the Mother Witch actually goes towards the Drill. Bomber going to come on through. We'll get one piggy spawn there, a bit of a fortunate interaction for Lygan, even though it was unfortunate in the beginning, the Mother Witch turning the wrong direction. Bandit dashes, nice job there. Bandit will connect on tower here on the right-hand side. Nice use of that Fire Spirit to soak up the Bandit dash from Lygan and then have just enough HP to get some damage in on that tower. 314 to 514. Inthrill back in the lead, and this poison is gonna give a little bit more cushion to that lead, but can't be feeling too confident. We talk about only 500 HP remaining, which is why we're seeing the pile-up of defense here. Mother Witch, though, Mother Witch at the bridge. Nice use there. Not going to be able to get as many piggies as she'd like. Bandit distracted. Bandit gets on top of the tower because of the Bomber, and just like that, that is going to do it. 130 HP remains. 8 seconds for a poison to get its full HP in, so that you will be going to a 2-tower game. 1574 remaining on the left-hand side to a basically perfectly healthy tower of Lygan. Top left as well. Mother Witch plus Piggies doing work on that King Tower. Inthrill still alive, but in trouble. Dark Prince cycled in the back with the Bomber here. We'll see a high poison at the bridge. There it is. Bandit turns around for just 1 second, but now a nice pile up here from Lygan, and now we see that Ram Rider come down late. Should be back around to some sort of building. Not at all. Late Goblin Drill, that's gonna do it. 434 remains, and while the game is still going, this is nothing but trouble for Inthrill. Great time on the Bar Barrel there, gonna bait out the Fire Spirit. 434 remaining. Bandit up high. Inthrill fighting for his life. Skeleton's there to stop that charge. Goblin Drill gonna go up. We get a little bit of tankage from that Dark Prince, but a Dark Prince in response from his opponent gonna make cleanup on that Goblin Drill. Very, very easy. 2143 remains. 2120 on that top left tower to 434. So Lygan not getting ahead of himself. I love to see the patience out of this young player. He's gonna cycle a P.E.K.K.A. in his side of the map, in the pocket. Get back around to that Dark Prince, make sure that he's not forcing anything here. He has only 30 seconds to survive in a massive damage lead. We see the Bandit come in, take that Tesla off the board, and that's gonna do it. Inthrill knows it's over. He stops defending. Bandit charges on through with the Fireball, with the Ram Rider, with some Piggies, a Dark Prince, and a P.E.K.K.A. Lygan doing great work here early on in his, I guess, debut, at least for me, in the Gamestars League. Now, I know that we're in the Western European Regional Finals, so there was a little bit more gameplay that had to happen before this moment, but it's the first time I'm seeing him play in his professional career, and he's doing a great job thus far against a strong opponent in Inthrill, who had a great game, a great start, I should say, to this set, in a great game number 1. But Lygan just took control of that set. Games 2, 3, and 4 go to the player from Spain. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. You see here, Inthril making it look easy. Now, at the end of this game, incredibly close. You can see right there, goblins on the tower, pigs on the tower, but time ran out. This could have maybe just been a 3-0. So let's go to game number 2. Damage done early on, and while this game does look incredibly close, it started off very one-sided. Inthril did a great job of fighting his way back into it. And as you can see, Golem clone, doing damage early on, taking a page out of his opponent's book, striking early and striking very, very hard. But the balloons from Lygan were chosen very, very, just the best timing. Incredibly well timing with every single one of those balloons. We see a 3-crown game coming in. And we got Megs here in the chat, shaping up to be a great regional finals. Always nice to see you casting. Andrew, thank you so very much. It is very great to be back. And there it is. Poison takes that tower down to go to a 2-tower game. But the overwhelm from Lygan, Inthril just had nothing he could do about it. Once it went to that 2-tower game, and once you saw that Inthril was already down Elixir to start it off, which is usually how it goes if you have to fight for a tower at the end of regulation. Tower goes down, Lygan recognizes it, never got ahead of himself. I think that's what I love to see out of Lygan, was that he never got ahead of himself with those plays. Sat back, played very smart. P.E.K.K.A.'s cycled on his side of the map in the pocket. That way he didn't have to worry about anything being dropped in the pocket like a bandit, trying to get some quick cheeky damage in from his opponent. Just played patiently, which is what you love to see. Always had that Dark Prince in cycle to get on top of that Goblin Drill. Always dealing with what he had to first before he went for the finish line. Mother Witch placement, only once was it really off there, and it didn't end up being that detrimental to his success. Great plays here from the Spaniard, and he will go on to play against Saint Belican. 2 pretty dominant sets from the players moving forward. Belican 3-0s, Lygan goes 3-1 over Inthril. Inthril going to go to the elimination side of the bracket. Game Freak and Sasa, that'll be our next matchup. And of course, Kike Star and Omer. Those are going to be the last 2 games in our first round, as you can see there on the set left-hand side of your screen. Majran and Inthril down below in the elimination bracket, round 1, as you can see. We'll be getting to that later on in this cast, of course. And top of your screen, Belican, Lygan, starting things off really well. Only 1 game dropped out of 7 played between the 2 players that are moving on. We'll see what Game Freak and Sasa want to do here in our 3rd set of the day. And there you go. A little bit of an update to our schedule. We see what just happened. 3-1. Lygan over Inthril. Next up, Game Freak TV from Germany going up against Sasa from Montenegro. Excited to see both of those guys play. And then Kike Star and Omer, 2 guys that I'm not incredibly familiar with, will be going up right before what we were just talking about, Saint Belican and Lygan. So far, there's been no Royal Giant, which has been a bit of a surprise for me. We've seen a decent amount of what we'd expect from Goblin Drill. Mother Witch has been out there as well. Mortar getting into the mix, and Ram Rider. Ram Rider, we've seen a couple different iterations of the Lumberjack, Ram Rider, Heal Spirit, Bandit version, a bridge spam kind of Ram Rider version without a heavy tank in there, which we usually see as a P.E.K.K.A. Wasn't super successful, but a big part of that, I believe, was just the matchup and maybe a couple mistimed heal spirits. So we'll see if this is going to kind of be the tradition for the day, if this is going to just continue on in regards to win conditions. I always love to see things varied up. I liked what we saw in set number 1 from Belican. I liked how he went from, Mortar to Graveyard and Goblin Drill with Magic Archer as his 3rd. So a good varying up of what's really popular in the meta right now, which is, I believe, really important, even this early on in our regional finals. Before we even get to our international group stage, you've got to start implementing those tactics, implementing that strategy early on in this competition so that your opponents don't know how to game you late in the tournament. That's something that we saw happen a lot in Season 1, which is that opponents started to recognize what their opponents like to do, what they like to play in certain situations and certain parts of their matchup, and they started to game against them, strategize against them, which is exactly what you'd expect at the highest level. So here we go. Game Freak TV, top of your screen. Kamikaze or Sasa at the bottom of your screen, and looking a bit baity here from Game Freak TV. Always happy to see that. Big fan of the Skeleton Barrel, one of my favorite cards in the game. bottom of your screen, we see a miner plus a fisherman. Of course, Dark Prince and Electro Wizard there as well, so at least something new, something we haven't seen so far today in this competition. Night Witch, really curious to see how effective she is going to be after that nerf. Giant in. Miner gonna get on top of that. Goblin, Dark Goblin, excuse me, is able to take it off the board. Skeletons are there as well. Miner now gonna tank for the bats after the Giant's tanking for everything. Night Witch gets on top of the tower, and that is a really, really tough start here for Game Freak. That's essentially tower down early on. 173 remains, and not a whole lot done on the opposing side of the board. Electro Wizard gonna turn around, take a little bit of damage from the Skeletons, but now we see does connect to the tower and not able to quite take it down. 82 HP remains to 1830. Sasa in a very, very good spot here. And you can see Game Freak TV just not happy with where he's at. Goblin Barrel going to come in. Fisherman going to try to pull to King to activate. And does get that King Tower activation. Really nice interactions so far from Sasa from Montenegro. Great King Tower activation, good damage early on, recognizes the matchup. Dark Prince takes the tower down, and now we see another push here. Giant plus Night Witch plus Fisherman. E-Wiz up high, and on top of that, Inferno. So while this Skeleton Barrel will connect, he does have Zap in cycle. There it is. Zap is on top of the Skeletons, and another pile up here on top of Game Freak's Princess Tower. I don't even know what's taken for what, and Game Freak just goes, get me out of this game. He goes Goblin Barrel to King. We see a Giant in the pocket, and we might just see a 3-crown game early on here in our third set of the day. Tough stuff. Tough stuff. Game Freak maybe just getting a little bit ahead of himself. It wasn't really the most horrible matchup, but it was really about min-maxing and deciding when he wanted to try to create some offensive presence and when he wanted to over-defend. And I don't think that he really had a moment of adequately defending any of those pushes from his opponent, which is really, really important to do. I mean, that's like the most simplistic casting in the world. Obviously, it's very important to do, but you gotta pick and choose those moments of when you want to create some offensive pressure and when you recognize that you just need to defend. And after that first tower went down, it felt like the game was already over. And then we saw that second Giant push, the E-Wiz in the pocket to get on top of that Inferno tower. And at that point, Game Freak just knew it was over. So Sasa from Montenegro, really great start here, and Game Freak from Germany gonna need to figure things out going into game number 2. Game Freak, of course, as I just said, is from Germany. He is one of our 20-year-old players, so, you know, one of the older men in the group, in the mix. His opponent, Sasa, 20 years old as well. So this is a battle of the two oldest guys in the Western European regional finals, which you love to see. 20 years old, still making things happen here in Clash Royale, which is so funny because when you talk about Clash, a lot of the best players in the world are between that 16 to 20 age range. And a big part of that, when I've talked to other competitors, I've talked to other coaches and analysts in the world, is that they say, when you're younger, there's just not as much hesitancy to go for those big time plays. They're more confident in their defenses, and they are more ballsy, if you will, in their attacks, recognizing that if they can make this tower fall, then they'll deal with the defense on the other side of it. And maybe in that game that we just saw, we need to see a little bit less aggression from Game Freak and a little bit more defensive plays. So Snowball going to come in, take that bomber off the board, push the Baby Dragon within tower range, and a nice Ram Rider connection here for Sasa early on. Game Freak and him even in Elixir, but a lot more damage done on one side. So now we see a Golem go behind King Tower from Game Freak and a Royal Ghost plus Dark Prince push on the right-hand side. I think Game Freak's just going to completely ignore this, let the tower go down. Doesn't really have to worry about a 3-crown situation with these two cards in play. He will obviously take some damage from the Royal Ghost, but the Dark Prince is going to get targeted first, so Royal Ghost isn't going to do a whole lot. Now we see this Electro Dragon on top of the Inferno, so that Golem can get right on through the tower. A Magic Archer cycled in the back, so this is going to be a tower trade situation, which is, I think, kind of what we expected. NATO going to come in as well. Not exactly the NATO that you'd love, but a great bit of splash damage from that Electro Wizard with the damage from the Tornado going to take the Magic Archer off the board. So we are in a 2-tower game here, but they are on opposing sides of the board, which means that Game Freak with a little bit of damage done on that King Tower, not too far away from also being able to go for that 3 crown. And there you go, exactly what you'd expect. Creating pressure on both sides of the board, doing whatever he can to make sure that Game Freak can't just set up for another golem, ignore the pushes that are coming in, and just downhill snowball kind of overrun Sasa. So Sasa going to get that Royal Ghost back on tower. Magic Archer going to come out behind King Tower here from Sasa / Kamikaze. And with 2 dragons working down the right-hand lane, there's going to be a golem. There it is. Golem up high at the river. Inferno Dragon as well. We'll see if, nope, not going to be able to do it. Bandit trying to come in and distract that Electro Dragon, but great use there of the Tornado to pull everything in close. Golem gets on top of tower again, and now we see a big time push. That's not good. Fireball comes in on top of the dragons, but that means that those elite barbarians can get on top of the tower. Game Freak doing a great job with his golem deck. 12-14 remains on the left-hand side with only 20 seconds in the game. And now Sasa trying to go for the 3 crown. Is this a real possibility? I don't think so. Bomber out defensively, 16:44 remains. Ram Rider is on top of that King Tower, but not going to be enough damage in enough time. Royal Ghost goes down at the bridge, but that's not going anywhere in 3 seconds. Maybe it'll get to Princess, but does get 1 swing in. Great job there from Game Freak to hold on to those elite barbarians, not letting his opponent know what his last card was, and they came out at the exact correct moment. A nice fireball came in on top of the dragons and on top of the golem. It felt like the correct play at the moment, but then we saw the elite barbarians come down in the pocket, doing great work, taking out that Princess Tower and sending us to an even 1-1 going to game number 3. So great back and forth sets so far. Some interesting starts to both of these games. We saw a tower trade basically to start game number 2, and of course game number 1 we saw Sasa come out early, very, very strong, going up against that bait deck. We will have to see Game Freak go back to that bait deck eventually. Not sure if it'll be in this game or when he tries to take out his opponent in his 3rd win, because he does have a little bit of space right now to choose which deck he wants to come out with. And as much as I like that bait deck, you know what? I think I would like to see that bait deck again. I think it just wasn't played to the way that he would like to. You know, obviously the matchup there wasn't great, and the decision-making was also not exactly what he needed there. There you go. E-Barbs came out 1 time. Heal Spirit was also only used once. It was all about the dragons doing work. Nice NATO work as well from Game Freak. We saw it early on, taking that Magic Archer off the board, and of course, late game, kind of moving everything together and allowing those elite barbarians to take down that tower. Sasa playing very, very well early in this set, struggling a bit in game number 2, made it a close game number 2, but Game Freak TV was able to put down that golem dominance. Good stuff there. So going into game number 3, Sasa could go back to this deck. Game Freak could go back to the deck that he started with, which was a Skeleton Barrel, Knight, Goblin Barrel, Dark Goblin deck, or both of them could go to their 3rd option, which we don't know. We'll see. I am surprised, as I said a minute ago, though, that we have not seen any Royal Giant plays yet, and maybe now is the time. Game number 3. Game Freak at the top of your screen, Kamikaze / Sasa at the bottom, and look at that. Spawners out on both sides early on. Furnace for one, Goblin Hut from the other. Excuse me. Furnace and Goblin Hut from one, Goblin Hut only from the other, and we'll see how much value this Mother Witch can get. Cannon Cart going to come out early and get on top of that Mother Witch, take it off the board. And now we see a bit of a pile up here at the bridge. Flying Machine going to try to take the Cannon Cart off of its wheels as these spawners do work on one another. Now, when we've seen spawners in competitive play, it's been very interesting because just trying to overwhelm and outlast your opponents with the buildings will work sometimes, but in my opinion, at least, at the highest level, you really need to have another win condition. A lot of times we'll see your opponent, and this is going to be a bit of a different matchup because we see spawning on both sides of the board, but usually if your opponent has a stronger win condition or even a win condition at all, they find themselves able to get on top of that tower, get damage in directly late game, and really manage both sides of the board in regards to spawner units piling up. So we'll see what happens here. Both players also have Mother Witch, which is going to be a very effective card as well in regards to getting those piggies on the board from the goblins from the Goblin Hut. So here we go. 30 seconds left of regulation. Mother Witch out. exactly what we were just talking about. Fireball going to go in on top of that cannon cart. High Mini P.E.K.K.A as well. Mini P.E.K.K.A making a bit of a resurgence. We've been seeing a little bit more Mini P.E.K.K.A Princess, Ice Golem, Hog Rider on top ladder and in grand challenges. Really nice bar barrel there as well. Look at that. Bar barrel, beautifully timed, beautifully placed. Cannon cart off of its wheels, and just like that, Game Freak just trying to laugh it off because that is basically tower down. High Fireball, though, misses the flying machine, and now the piggies come in on the other side of the board. So Game Freak does have the true win condition, but suffering early from a bar barrel protecting a cannon cart, but that flying machine on tower, tower basically down. We're going to go to a 2-tower game, and this is where I think Sasa's going to have a lot of trouble. When we go to the 2-tower game, those spawning buildings can go in both directions, but you're not going to create a lot of pressure on the King Tower, at least for some time. And then, of course, when you talk about Game Freak, this is exactly what I was saying earlier with having a strong win condition and ability to get on top of tower, because, you know, the only reason we saw Sasa take that tower, which is probably why Game Freak was trying to laugh it off, is that, you know, there was just a beautifully timed bar barrel that came in, protects the cannon cart, and then we see Game Freak on the other side of it with kind of the true win condition, the overwhelm with the Royal Hogs coming in, the flying machine perfectly placed. Royal Hogs going to come down defensively right now to keep that Mini P.E.K.K.A off the tower, and Royal Hogs going to come in here. High Furnace going to help clean up that flying machine. Really, really nice interaction there for Sasa. Takes the flying machine off the board, keeps those piggies off the tower, and now we go cannon cart in the pocket. High Royal Recruits, and those Royal Recruits are going to be difficult to deal with here in regards to that cannon cart getting on tower again with the only 90 seconds remaining. And look at this, Eric Maestro. Hi, I'm the coach of Lagan. Good job for you, man. He did some great work. Flying machine in the pocket, getting some good damage in. Game Freak getting hyper aggressive, which you do love to see. Lagan will be going up against St. Bellicans, so Eric, you definitely have your work cut out for you. Belly, one of the best players in the game. We go. Piggies at the bridge once again. They're going to turn and go towards that cannon cart that fell off of its wheels. Mini P.E.K.K.A played defensively. Bar barrel up high to clean up that Mother Witch. Now flying machine out in both directions. Though that flying machine turns and goes on the bar barrel. So now 2 flying machines in. And look at this. The overwhelm once again. Mini P.E.K.K.A on the tower. Cannon cart in the pocket. Mother Witch at the bridge. Nothing there to get on top of the cannon cart. Nothing to get on top of the flying machine. We see the Royal Recruits come in just in time. But that's going to help spawn some piggies as that Mother Witch stays on the board. Game Freak getting overwhelmed by this deck with no true win condition, but Sasa playing it very, very nice. Royal Hogs in the pocket, bar barrel plus cannon cart plus Mother Witch there defensively. 855 remains on that top right-hand side. Sasa looking like he could go up 1 game here, 2 games to 1 as we will head into game number 4. But still 10 seconds remaining. Can Game Freak make anything happen? I don't think so. Fireball up high. There you go. Furnace there. Fireball takes flying machine off the board. Game Freak waves the white flag. And only about 500 HP separating these two. Really, really nice work from Game Freak to put it to a 2-tower game, but just not able to create that pressure that he'd like with the Royal Hogs. And that is one of the only situations when what I was talking about earlier about having a win condition, having a true win condition, and how it usually ends up playing better against those spawner decks. When we're talking about your win condition being Royal Hogs, and it can run into a Furnace, can run into a Goblin Hut, and of course can run into a cannon cart falling off of its wheels. Really, really tough stuff there. We even saw one time where Game Freak pulled the trigger a bit early on his Royal Hogs. Cannon cart goes off the wheels. They do a double deuce or a double Dutch back across the river, and then they go back over to the cannon cart. So not able to do it in the 2-tower game. But I'm curious, had he just played a little bit cleaner defense early on, had that bar barrel not come in the perfect moment to protect that cannon cart, would Game Freak have been able to win this just in a 1-tower situation? We'll never know. Only the Clash Royale gods will. So Sasa, Kamikaze, up 2-1 as we head into game number 4. Game Freak looking at the potential of being set down to that elimination bracket. Those are the cards that were played, the 8 cards on both sides of the board. A lot of Mother Witch value came out from Sasa, which was one of the things late game It became very, very difficult to deal with. That Mother Witch stayed on the board for so long, got so much value, got so many of those piggies down on the board. But I think even the damage aside, it was just more about the attention that was demanded from his opponent. And then we saw, of course, that mini P.E.K.K.A working on through to the tower. A couple times Royal Hogs had to be used defensively. So maybe Game Freak just playing a little bit too fast and loose early on, and then having to pay for it late game. Both these guys sitting back and hanging out right now. Maybe we'll see some Electro Giant. We've seen a lot of versions of Electro Giant in the current meta, and looking over here at the YouTube chat and looking back at that replay of that cannon cart connecting. Coach of Ligon in the chat. Hi, POWP. Go Ram Rider out. Bar behind that King Tower, going to slow this baby dragon down. Mother Witch comes down to populate the board with a couple of those piggies. Ram Rider going to tank for that pig. 2 pigs down. Ram Rider connects on the left-hand side, and just like that, Game Freak once again taking a ton of damage early on, but he does have the golem push. Bomber going to work its way around the tower. That bomber will slow down, and no, does not get behind the golem. Not enough damage to be dealt for that bomber. Stops here at the bridge. It does not stop out of range. Unfortunate interaction there for Game Freak, but here we go. E-Barbs in, right behind that golem once again. Fisherman to pull the King Tower. P.E.K.K.A off the board. Dark Prince goes behind the tower, and Game Freak gets a really nice interaction there. E-Barbs on the tower, take it down to below 700 HP, just barely above 600. And so early strikes on both sides of the board. Now we see Sasa go opposite lane with the Ram Rider. Heal Spirit there to help that Mega Minion. Ram Rider will connect. Mega Minion gonna take this Fisherman off the board before it gets any damage in. 1060 and 2094 on the top of your screen. Bottom of your screen, 626 HP remains. So not a great position to be in, but still a lot of damage left to be dealt. High golem here as we are in double elixir. P.E.K.K.A there to meet, P.E.K.K.A there to match, along with the E-Wiz slowing things down and the Fisherman. Going to be very difficult for that golem to actually make it to tower. Nice NATO there. You see the idea that Game Freak was going for. Get that Fisherman a little bit closer to tower. Once the golem goes down, should hopefully get at least death damage in on the left-hand side. Not really the case this time around. Fisherman connects on the right-hand side. Mega Minion out defensively here. E-Barbs up high on top of that Mother Witch. Heal Spirit behind. We'll see what value that Heal Spirit gets. None. Nice Barb Barrel there. And one, no connection there with the E-Barbs. Just brilliantly timed and brilliantly placed defensively. His Sasa, 1060 to 578. Gonna be tough to get a golem back down. E-Wiz slowing everything down. E-Wiz creating a path for that Ram Rider. Ram Rider does get on top of tower. 840 HP remains. No charge though. No charge there, so a lot less damage, a lot less substantial is the damage that came in, and now we see that overwhelm once again. E-Barb's gonna have to come down defensively, gonna spawn a couple piggies though. Dark Prince doing some work. Ram Rider, and that is one of the most effective things and one of the most frustrating things about playing against that Mother Witch is when you have no other options. She can create so much pressure that demands so much of a response. If your opponent is playing something heavy like Golem, they just are not able to get it back down. Now though, in triple elixir, there, yep, Golem is down. Ram Rider there to slow. Fisherman, I believe, is in play. Yes, there's the Fisherman. Goes to the Bomber though instead. High Bomber, Barb Barrel in on the other side, trying to distract anything else that would distract that Fisherman. Fisherman does get the pull just in time. Heal Spirit a second late. Electro Dragon distracted. Mother Witch up high. Right now, Sasa doing the correct thing, which is just defend, defend, defend. That's all he has to worry about. Bomber gonna get taken off the board with a very nice Barb Barrel there. Ram Rider gonna connect on tower. That's gonna do it. That is gonna do it. Kamikaze, Sasa, moving on. Game Freak going down to the elimination side of the bracket. That was a wonderful back and forth, a game of chess, if you will. You saw both sides striking early, getting a lot of damage in. Only really one true attempt from Sasa to create pressure in the opposite lane, create damage there, because Game Freak this time around did a much better job staying hyper aggressive, getting a lot of damage in on that tower. We saw that really interesting interaction where the Dark Prince worked behind the tower because I believe of the golem, little golemites spawning. Dark Prince goes behind the tower, and the E-Barbs go right on through for an insane amount of damage, but just was not enough late game. Sasa able to hold on. Really great stuff in there. We're going to be seeing more of him later on today. Let's take a look at the highlights. This was that first matchup. We saw Giant Miner with Night Witch, and that combination is probably something we'll start to see more and more in the meta come Monday, knowing that Poison is going to be exponentially stronger than it has been in the last several months. But that Poison deck could have a lot of potential. We see here Game Freak picking up his win with that Golem play. Really nice stuff there. Game number 3, tower goes down early on. Tower goes down right before the end of regulation, and Game Freak waving that white flag here, not able to get enough damage in, not able to break on through with those Royal Hogs. And you talk about matchup, and those Royal Recruits plus the Royal Hogs plus the spawners made it very easy for Sasa to defend adequately and still create just enough pressure from that Mother Witch time and time again. And there you go, tower falls, and so does Game Freak TV. Nice plays there with the Ram Rider. Somehow, some way, that Ram Rider always connects to tower. And there you go, the 3 decks that we saw Sasa win with. Starts it off early with the Giant Miner. Fireball. As you can see, Fireball used in 5 of the decks on your screen, and that is just because of how pesky that Mother Witch can be, which is something I'm sure a lot of us are looking forward to not having to deal with quite as much once those balance updates come in. Mother Witch going to have 4% less HP, but from what I've heard, will not die to Arrow's zap. So still be very strong, but will easily fall inside of poisons, which obviously it's falling inside of poisons right now anyway, but the thing is getting it placed perfectly was really tough, because a lot of times you'll see players place that Mother Witch up high, and then the poison, you're not able to get value on the tower, maybe value on the defensive building. You're only able to take the Mother Witch off the board. And even then, sometimes that Mother Witch will walk out, depending on, you know, where you had to place that poison, trying to get value out of it, right? You don't always want to just go poison for Mother Witch, because especially in late game, you're trying to look for a little bit more value there. And with that slow, it's going to be one of those things where the Mother Witch probably won't make it out of those poisons very often, as she does right now. Here we go. There's the bracket that we're seeing so far. Majran and Inthrill will be playing against each other in the elimination bracket. Game Freak waiting to see who fails and who prevails between Omer and Kike Star. And this is where we're at. 3-1 from Ligon over Inthrill, which I'm sure his coach Eric is very excited about. St. Bellican sitting back waiting to play against him, as this is our final game in the first round to play. Kike Star top of your screen, Omer bottom of your screen. Both of these gentlemen looking to start their careers in Gamestars off strong with this opening set. Omer from Germany, he's 18 years old. Kike Star from Spain, 16 years old. Over 40 countries involved in just the Western European qualifier. Here we are in the regional finals. Miner, Dark Prince, Mega Minion, Royal Delivery, top of your screen, bottom of your screen, no big surprise, Goblin Drill. As that Bandit connects to the tower, nice stuff there. And a high bomber here, not ideal. Does it? Yes, it does. Look at that. Great placement from the bomber. Wasn't sure if he was going to sneak out of range of that Mega Minion in time, but a great trade there, which is why we see pretty even elixir. However, obviously Dark Prince on the board. Skeleton's not ideal in that situation. Dark Prince does get the charge in on that tower. Omer probably not super excited about that, but didn't have his Bandit back in cycle. Actually, he should have had his Bandit back in cycle, but decides to go with Skeletons instead. Probably just didn't have the elixir. 1875, top of your screen. 1642 at the bottom. Man from Germany. And a bit of a deficit here. Miner goes into the tower once again. Bomber used as a kite for that Mega Minion. Not ideal. You know, that's not exactly what you want to be using your bomber for, but in single elixir, it's a little bit more forgiving. And a lot more forgiving when you talk about the damage that just came in there. 1161 remaining, top left-hand side, 1498. And now we see that first mortar come down for Kike Star. See how he wants to defend this. He does go high Mega Minion, doing everything he can to get this Dark Prince off the board in time. Log does come in. Bandit and Dark Prince hit from the Log. Nice use of the Royal Delivery there. Should allow that Mortar to get one more shot. It does on top of that Bomber. So takes both those units off the board. And now we see the reset here. Dark Prince does turn around and go, but does that Dark Prince up high connect? No, Log has to come down, but that Log would have been nice to get on top of the tower as well. Kike Star playing a little bit uncomfortably now. And that is a great moment for him to reset. We see the defensive Tesla come down, gives him a moment to bust out his 8th and final card, which is the Earthquake. And just like that, the tides swing back in favor of Kike Star. When you talk about Elixir and where he was at just a moment ago, it felt like he was just about to get overrun. But still, Omer keeping up the pressure. 12:52 to 10:20. Mega Minion played up high, and we see the Tesla up higher this time, but still going to be in range of that Princess Tower. Nice use there. Bandit going to get caught up by that Royal Delivery. Dark Prince down back on top of the drill. 999 to 1006. These guys only separated by 7 HP. And this is trouble. This is when that Goblin Drill, late game, feels like it's always on your tower. The Miners, though, doing a good amount of damage if that drill is always taken off the board. And this time, not taken off the board in time. Dark Prince not where he needed it to be. Arrows come in, Fireball comes in, Mortar comes down, but Bandit's already on top of the Mortar. Skeleton's there to distract. That's going to distract 2 shots from the Mortar as the Bandit does its work. Miner back on the tower, Drill on the other side of it, and that is going to do it. 98 HP remains. Fireball goes in, and Omer stays alive. He gets the good game out of his opponent, which it was a very good back and forth. I mean, one of the things that we saw, though, in that game was just both these players kind of like hanging on for dear life at separate moments instead of completely resetting. And you understand you want to keep up the pressure, you want to stay on the offense, and of course the pressure that was created by their opponents made it so they couldn't really sit back and figure out what they needed to do to vary things up, vary up those offensive pushes. And then we saw Omer just outcycling his opponent. That was, I think, the big shifting moment in the game. There was a couple of them that happened early on, but when that Goblin Drill came down, and it was a Mega Minion there to defend, a Royal Delivery that came down slightly off time, and then a Fireball came in on the tower as well. That was a massive amount of damage. And then from that point on, it felt like Kike Star was having trouble getting control of his cycle once again. Elixir leaked, very little on both sides of the board. Buildings, though, Omer putting it in with the Goblin Drill and, of course, that Tesla. Earthquake's coming down, but not as effective as the Spaniard would have liked. You can see right there, that deck, very, very fast to get back around. You talk about the Bomber, the Skeletons, the Drill, and then something to create pressure, whether it's the Bandit or the Dark Prince, just all over his opponent. Interesting deck on the other side of the board. We see a Miner Earthquake Mortar deck, something that is pretty untraditional or pretty out of the meta right now. You know, Earthquakes we see a lot with Royal Hogs. We see sometimes with Electro Giant and Royal Giant now, and obviously with that Hog Rider cycle deck that has been very, very popular, whether you're playing it with Ice Spirit, Electro Spirit, Valkyrie, or Knight. But Kike Star going a little off meta, and I'm having a feeling that might have been why he was having such a difficult time. The only way he was able to get true damage on tower was with a Mortar Lock, which is easier said than done. And of course, getting that Miner on top of tower, which is a lot easier to do than getting the Mortar there. But of course, you know, the Bandit was usually always there to get a dash in. Miner not getting a lot of damage in as well. So having to create a lot of offensive pressure or creating a lot of offensive presence was Kike Star just unable to do it. So here we go. Game number 2. Looking like some version of bridge spam. Mother Witch out, getting a lot of value off those minions. P.E.K.K.A does get taken off the board by that Inferno Dragon. Mother Witch is there to help add some damage and help clean this Inferno Dragon up. Keep that curse on the Inferno so that we should see one more piggy populate the board. 2138 as of right now. We'll see if... Oh, wow. Curse falls off just in time. 2390 to 2138. Barb Barrel in. Try to create just a little bit of response from his opponent. Doesn't get one, though, so he'll get 2 swings out of it. And then we see a lane change from the Spaniard. Fisherman distracted by the Dark Prince. Not going to be able to turn around and get on top of that Bandit. We see Omer set up there for a Lava Hound and a tower down below. We'll just say right at 700 HP. Kike Star doing a good job creating pressure, But now he's going to have to deal with an air assault with an Electro Wizard that's out of cycle and a Mother Witch that doesn't do a whole ton of damage. So Ram Rider connects once again. There is the balloon. Mother Witch comes down late. Might be able to get back around to another Electro Wizard, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. Fireball comes in on top of everything. Really nice use of the Fireball there. And Balloon should still get one drop. Yes, it does. That's a bit unfortunate for Kike Star, but Kike Star does take down the left-hand tower in this moment. Only 30 seconds remaining. We're going to have to see another Lava Hound come down from Omer, but first he has to defend this Ram Rider. I don't know if there's going to be enough time. Beautiful Electro Wizard there. Ram Rider on top of the tower. He resets the Fisherman, and even if this tower does go down with a minor Loon push, that is another tower down on the right-hand side of your board. 85 HP remains, and the spell power needed to take it out of play. 10 seconds remain. We know that Fireball is going to come in, and that is going to do it. It'll be all even going into game number 3. Western European Regional Finals underway here. This is the final game, or the final match of round number 1. Then we're going to get into the second set there, the semifinals, where we know that Ligon and St. Bellican are waiting, and of course, Sasa waiting to see who's going to win between Omer and Kike Star. This is just the beginning of what is a very long journey in the Gamestars tournament. In the regional finals, you can walk away with $500, and we're giving out over $1,000 in each of the regional finals, but it's all about that pile of gold waiting at the end of our run. The International Gamestars Competition Season 2. The end of that, we're going to be giving out over $30,000. So, well, $1,000 might be nice. You want to keep that train running, keep on chugging to get to the international group stage, and then, of course, the international playoffs and the finals, where you can have your chance at that lion's share of $30,000. But that is looking very far into the future. We are here right now with Kike Star from Spain and Omer from Germany. Very interesting matchup here. Kike Star able to get those balloons under control. That's one of the hardest things to do with this deck, especially when you don't have the cycle that you need. Ram Rider was out of cycle and on top of the Lava Hound, but the damage done with the Electro Wizard, the Mother Witch coming in, and of course a very, very nicely placed and timed Fireball was what kept Kike Star alive, kept this to a single tower situation for Omer. And then when you talk about keeping the pressure up, keeping that offensive presence on the board, we saw a Ram Rider at the bridge. Fisherman comes out in response, but then a brilliant Electro Wizard on top of the Fish Boy allows that Ram Rider plus the Electro Wizard to get a ton of damage in. I believe at the end of that exchange, that tower was below 100 HP. So tough stuff there. Might be seeing Graveyard at the top of your screen here. Baby Dragon gonna get one belch in on that tower. Dark Prince's meet, and there's the Graveyard that we just called. Kike Star hoping that those skeletons can tank for his Dark Prince, and nice NATO. We actually really love to see the NATO there. Electro Wizard trying to make something happen on both sides, trying to get that Dark Prince charge off the board and help clean up the skeletons, but a heads-up NATO makes it so that Mama P.E.K.K.A has to come out to defend against the Graveyard, which is not usually what you want to defend against a Graveyard. And Graveyard out in kind here from his opponent. So Kike Star going to have to defend here with not a lot in the tank. He does have a Bar Barrel to help, but there's still a few skeletons in the back that are going to pile up. And we are basically even here. Actually, 100 HP plus advantage on the side of the German. Nice job with that P.E.K.K.A Graveyard push. So just both these guys just swinging for the fences every single opportunity they get. Not really waiting to reset to 10, just doing everything they can, getting as much on the board as possible. Here we go, Baby Dragon out at 8, has to get on top of this Goblin Brawler. Goblin Brawler will not connect the tower there, and now we see a Graveyard immediately come down. Mother Witch probably going to go in the back. There's the Mother Witch. Now we're going to look for that Fireball. Fireball does come on top of the Mother Witch. Yes, it does. A couple piggies out. Electro Wizard there to help clean up. 784 to 1235. Dark Prince going to sneak behind that Electro Wizard, so a bit of an aggressive play. However, Princess Tower still distracted by the Dark Prince tanking. But Goblin Brawler plus Bar Barrel going to make that easy cleanup. And now Kike Star in an advantage. We talk about Elixir on the board, back around to Graveyard if he'd like. I'd be surprised, though, if we see a Graveyard come out right now. I think he wants to deal with the P.E.K.K.A, and yes, that's exactly what's happening. Dealing with the P.E.K.K.A, dealing with the offensive push first. Bar Barrel does get placed exactly where he needs it. Electro Wizard off of the board. And now Omer cannot get his Graveyard down. Really nice stuff there from Kike Star to make sure that he could stay in control of this game. Mother Witch going to spawn just the one piggy. It's going to take the charge away from that Dark Prince. Dark Prince meets Dark Prince. However, it is the blue Dark Prince that gets the charge on top of Kike Star's Dark Prince. But still, 2 baby dragons plus a Dark Prince, and I don't know how he's going to defend against this. We can Electro Wizard up high, NATO in, everything on the tower, and that's going to do it. 2 games in a row go to the Spaniard. Omer now going to have to fight for his life here in game number 4. Graveyard meets Graveyard. We've been seeing a little bit more of it today as we've gotten farther on through the day. Obviously, we started off with St. Belican, maybe took a little bit of a hiatus from Graveyard, and now we're back to it in our 4th set. Really nice stuff from both of these guys. And this is something that we've seen a lot so far in Gamestars, except for really, I believe, in that first set, which is just openings of games in the first minute and a half. There's been so much damage done on both sides, and this time around you saw, you know, the immediate Baby Dragon plus Graveyard, the Electro Wizard came down, or Dark Prince plus Graveyard, and then the Electro Wizard comes down to try to stop the Dark Prince charge and get some help with the Graveyard Skeletons. An aggressive NATO pulls it to the other side of the board. It allows a lot of damage to come in on the tower. But then we have the Mama P.E.K.K.A drop defensively. So again, not the best cleanup that you'd like in regards to cleaning skeletons from a graveyard off the board. But as she crosses the river, we see a Graveyard in kind come out from Omer. He had a really nice initial onslaught, but I think he maybe just got a little too aggressive with his Graveyards at one point in the game. Or I guess not. He was only able to get 2 Graveyards down. It was just Kike Star recognizing the pressure at the bridge. If he could continue to win those bridge battles, if he could continue to keep a unit high at the river, his opponent was in a very uncomfortable position. You see the Electro Wizard and Dark Prince were his defenses of choice, but just not able to clean it up. Order out, gonna get 1 shot in on that tower. Inferno gonna sizzle it away, and a Royal Delivery for a nice +1 trade, if you will. Mega Knight. First time I believe we're seeing that big brawler today. We'll see what version of Mega Knight Inferno. Obviously, the most classic one is the minor version. It's like a minor zap bait skeleton barrel, but with Goblin Barrel being as strong as it is in the game right now, look at that. Musketeer played, no defense there. I mean, that's basically already a tower down. 920 HP remains. Good timing on that log. Has to allow the bats to get some more damage in, but now we see a bandit's going to double rush, or leapfrog, as Sir Tag would call it, on top of that Princess Tower. And Kike Star out to a strong early lead here in game number 4. Omer feeling that pressure of getting sent down to the elimination bracket. Archer's going to be an easy trade there. Nice +1. And we see Royal Hogs come out in the left-hand lane. Mega Knight up high, and now we see a really strong dual lane presence. Royal Delivery going to come down, try to do double duty here, but this is tough. You know that the cycle of Omer's is not really going to deal with this well. I believe the only thing he has is Mortar and Musketeer. And as you can see here, just a ton of damage in both sides, and Omer has he's thrown in the white flag. He's called it. That's going to be it. Kike Star is going to move on to play against Sasa in an easy 3-crown victory. That was one of the fastest 3 crowns I think we've ever seen in Gamestars League. And Omer just getting ahead of himself, getting a little too aggressive, sending those Royal Hogs in. You got to recognize where your opponent's at. You know, it's the only time today we've seen the Mega Knight. You have to know that he's played enough cards to get back around to it. You have to look at your Elixir and what he's spent and know that he has not spent enough to not have the Elixir in hand to get that Mega Knight back down. And Kike Star just in a great spot. Has the fireball to deal with the piggies as well, but instead goes Mega Knight plus bats. Dark Prince charging down the right-hand lane. A high Royal Delivery tries to pull the attention of both units, but that's just not going to do it. And then based off the way he defended before with that Musketeer, that then allowed the Bandit to leapfrog from Musketeer to Princess Tower, we knew that his cycle was basically Mortar, Log, or Musket. And none of those cards were going to do what he needed. There you go, game number 2. And that's what started this downhill push from Kike Star. Nice NATO there at the end to pull everything together. That game was basically wrapped up in regards to how the cycles were dealing with those graveyards, but it's graveyards. So one misplay on defense could have allowed Omer to come back into that game. Kike Star, though, he nips that bud right in the bud as soon as he can. And there it is, the 3 crown. Easy overwhelm. Goblin Drill, Bats, Mega Knight, Bandit. So much pressure. And you love to see the Inferno in there as well to help take that Mortar off of the board. Omer just got ahead of himself there in game number 4. Those Royal Piggies at the river were really sealed his fate in this set. And that's it. We're through our first 4 matches of the day, which means that we've got to go to our 2 final matches, our last 2 sets between St. Beligan and Ligan, and of course, Sasa and Kike Star. And as you can see, that is going to take us to our upper bracket final. After that, that'll be the end of our day, though, today after these next couple matches, as we've already gotten through 4. It's been a fast day today. As you can see, the most that an opponent put up was 1 game. We had a sweep to start the day, and then 3 3-1s in a row. But now that we are working our way through the upper bracket, this is where I expect to see the competition kick it up a level. St. Belican played perfectly so far today, but his coach, Eric Maestro, in the chat of Ligan, coach of Ligan, that is, we'll see if he has some good strategy to bring against St. Belican. And there you go. There's our schedule. 1-3. Game Freak falls to Sasa. Then we see 3-1. The Spaniard takes out the German. In our 4th set of the day, St. Belican coming back out here in just a couple moments. That's right now. 8:29. That's right now. Him and Ligan going to be playing up against each other to see who moves forward in this upper side of the bracket. Of course, Sasa and Kike Star will be the last match of the day to close things out for our first day of the Western European Regional Finals here at Gamestars League. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you have not already. I know that there was another big competition going on in the space out there, but this is going to be a lot of good Clash Royale action over the next couple of months. This is, in my opinion, one of the best semi-pro / amateur tournaments in the world. And every season, we've seen great professionals, CRL experts, CRL vets come into the competition. Last season, we saw Igor and others. This season, we're already seeing St. Belican dominate early on with a 100% win rate. His opponent, 75%. Ligan, bottom of your screen. Belican at the top, going back to the deck that he ran second, I believe. Oh, he switches things up, it looks like. So we got Cannon Cart plus Mortar plus Valkyrie. Rocket going to help clean both of those up. Take the Cannon Cart off the wheels, get the Mortar off of the board. Ligan going for what I believe should be a delivery in there as well. It's basically a minor control deck with Rocket Cycle, but can be very, very difficult late game, especially playing against someone as talented as Belican, who is very happy to cycle that Inferno Dragon in the back. Here we go, Graveyard out, Inferno Dragon in. Inferno Dragon is tanking for the skeletons from the graveyard, but we see a minor plus Spear Goblins plus up high. So the overspend by Ligan does pay off. 2374 remaining on that bottom right-hand tower to 2462 on Belican's top right. Mortar comes back down again. We'll see how he wants to deal with this. Dark Prince goes opposite lane and should be able to distract this Valkyrie with some skeletons. Yep, there they are. And Tesla out on both units. Dark Prince does need a little bit more attention, and that's why we see the Cannon Cart come out. But now Cannon Cart going to fall off of its wheels to this Tesla. So nicely played so far from Ligan, and maybe we see a lane change from Belly. Mortar Graveyard, very strong deck in the game right now. If you guys haven't been watching, Igor on YouTube, who's running a different version of Mortar Graveyard, climbing up to plus 8,000 trophies. Nice timing there, not really going to give rocket value to his opponent. Miner going to go into the tower, try to get some damage in. And Cannon Cart up high. That Tesla, though, still going to be a bit of a nuisance for St. Belkin. We'll see if he drops skeletons or anything to take away the attention. No, he does not. Now we see Cannon Cart 2 shots in from both directions. Cannon Cart is across the river, and that could be trouble here. We'll see. Damage does come in a little bit. Royal Delivery has to come down as well. We see arrows add a little bit more damage in. 1982 to 1920. And Valkyrie played up high. Spear Goblins, a lot of them still focused on the Valkyries, so we see a little bit of damage in. That is the most substantial damage, though, we've seen so far in this matchup. 1873 remaining on the top left-hand side. Rocket in on the right. Those rockets going to want to see them on tower late game, which is probably what we will see. So Belkin, recognizing that, needs to create a bit more damage, or he's going to find himself in a very tough spot, breaking through and getting graveyard damage in and keeping up with that rocket cycle. Order down once again, placed in the center, so I believe it should still get distracted by the Dark Prince, but instead skeletons come out as well. Arrows in. Mortar should lock. There it is. Mortar lock on tower. That's a big-time lock. And great defense there. Skeletons out first, then the Valkyrie. Tesla not able to get on top of that Mortar. Finally does. Mortar gets one more shot in on the tower. Cannon Cart played up high. You love to see that. Cannon Cart. Belkin varying up his defense. Recognized last time that the Valkyrie did not get where he needed in time. So who you know what can? A Cannon Cart placed up high in front of the Princess Tower. No way for the Spear Goblins to get in, and no way for that Miner to be out of range. Cycle, though, from Ligon, getting kept up with by Belkin. He matched it, and there's that rocket cycle we were talking about. Inferno distracting the Tesla. Delivery distracting the Inferno. Graveyard is in. Mortar getting taken off the board by the Tesla. Fireball in on top of that Dark Prince. 835 with one more skeleton stab. Skeleton punch? Skeleton something. 768. This time we see the rocket go in again. This time, instead, the Miner is caught by the skeletons. Valkyrie up high to take off the Spear Goblins. We got some good dual lane pressure here, but it's all about the right-hand lane for Belkin. Cannon Cart distracted by the skeletons for a second. Rocket in again. Log in as well. That's not going to be enough to take the tower down, and that is a big-time mistake from Ligon. That rocket cycle just a little bit too aggressive. He had the lead. He just needed to defend, over defend there. Really tough thing to do, though, when you talk about the push that Belkin finally created at the end. And now we've seen it in 2 sets so far. Belkin, his experience, he's a vet of the game. He's a CRL pro. He's a European champion in the original CRL season. He is a guy that will never give up at the end of those games. And even with 19 HP remaining on his tower, he knew he could get a big push in. That great graveyard push there at the end. And if his opponent did decide to go all out with spell power, he knew that he was going to take the game with that graveyard. So great plays there from the young man from the UK. Whew, that's a close one for Ligon. I bet that got his heart racing. We'll see if he's able to calm those nerves as we get into game number 2. Belkin, perfect so far in this competition. 4 wins, 4 games played, and some great deck variability. You love to see that out of one of the best players in the game, and definitely one of the best players here in Gamestars. 6 mortars out, 9 cannon carts out, so tons and tons of cannon carts being cycled on the board, which helped a lot with those Miner plus Spear Goblin pushes. And then when his opponent decided to readjust with the rockets, he decides to go, okay, cool. I'm going to readjust as well. I'll go Valkyrie up high on top of the Spear Goblins. I'll go Skeletons down low. And those Skeletons keeping that one more Miner swing off the tower. That's what gave him the game. So Lava Loon going up against Mega Minion, Mega Knight, and of course Goblin Hut. So Goblin Hut going to do some little bit of distraction here for that balloon, but wow, still a ton of damage in here and a lot spent by Ligon. 2090 remains on Belkin's tower with the King Tower activation, And you can see already Ligon just trying to laugh off this game. I mean, you can spend as much time as you want putting those emotes out, my young friend, but this is not how you wanted this second game to start. And, you know, Belly is a guy that's been around long enough to where he sees that as you being tilted. He knows that he's gotten in your head. He knows that he has the advantage. We go minions up high. That isn't going to be enough to take the cannon cart off of its wheels before it connects to the tower, but it will be enough to take it off the board before it creates too much damage. So Mega Knight cycled in the back once again. Lava Hound crossing the river now. 742 remaining. One more swing there from the minions. Bring it down to 574 to 1380. Mega Minion on top of that Lava Hound. And now Belican going to have to do some defense here on the other side of the board. There's a nicely placed Miner. Keeps everything kind of at base. Well, Miner has to come in as well from Belican to reset this Mega Knight. Make sure it doesn't leap on top of that Princess Tower. So the idea there for Ligon was great. But with only 70 seconds remaining, he's going to have to need a miracle to happen, because the moment that he tries to create a big offensive push, Belly is in a position to either over-defend or set up another Lava Hound in the back. And right now, very happy to just take that spell value, that spell damage, get this Goblin Hut off the board. Inferno Dragon going to be distracting just enough. Sets up a Bomber in the back. Not enough time to send in another Miner to distract that Mega Knight. So we go Fisherman up high, Bomber down low. Mega Knight gets turned around on top of the Miner that was sent in. And St. Belican doing exactly what he needs to do. 35 seconds remaining. 87 HP remaining. Bomber coming out. Does he have? Yes, he does. Fisherman is now out, so Ligon doing the correct thing here, trying to disrupt the cycle of St. Belican, but with only 23 seconds remaining, that's not going to be enough time to really make anything happen. Electro Wizard on top of the Inferno. Fireball in as well up high. Miner instead this time being used defensively. And we see the Miner go to the tower here from Ligon. Belican doing exactly what you'd expect out of Belican. Varying up his defense, never getting too aggressive. Only one Lava Hound had to come out. And he has definitely tilted his opponent. I mean, what I liked in that last little bit of the game there was that we saw Ligon changing things up, messing up the cycle of Belican. And had he done that a little bit earlier on, maybe we would have seen some nice connections on that right-hand tower of Belly. But you got to give credit where credit's due. And St. Belican always kind of knew what the worst case scenario was for those pushes coming in, right? He had that Miner locked and loaded, ready to go in case his opponent sent in a Miner to distract the Fisherman, which is exactly what Ligon did. And that's where you talk about the experience and just being a vet in this game, playing at the highest level for as long as St. Belican has. He knows he always has to think 3 steps ahead of the 3 best options that could happen. And that comes from knowing the game and also playing against the best in the game. What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, the worst thing that could happen is I place my Fisherman, it gets distracted by the Miner, and the Mega Knight jumps on top of tower. So I'm going to place the Fisherman where he needs to be in case that doesn't happen. But I need to have my defensive Miner ready to go to turn that Mega Knight back around. And that is really what I loved the most about that game. Was it wasn't the lava first play that just took the tower and then tilted Ligon. It was really more about the defenses that came in late game, because, you know, Ligon as well, he did a great job of creating pressure with that cannon cart, and he did a very great job of changing up the way that he wanted to create his offensive pressure. It's just that his opponent was kind of expecting everything that he threw at him. So Belican, 1 game away from another clean sweep. 3 up, 3 down. We'll see. He's played 5 games so far without a loss. And Ligon, who started his day off 3-1, has now found himself at a 50% win rate because of this young man from the UK. And there we go, the very first Royal Giant of the competition. Cannon cart gets pulled kind of across the river, but not really. Stays on that side of the board. Royal Giant gets caught up. We see a ocean of units from both players at the river, and a fireball comes in to make sure that nothing breaks on through. Belican with a 1 elixir lead after that exchange. Both these guys going to reset as Belican ticks to 10. We'll see if he cycles a cannon cart in the back or he goes archers first. And it's because cannon cart was not back around yet. There's the cannon cart up high, right on top of that goblin cage. And we see this Mega Minion getting pushed forward by Belican, allows the archers to take it off the board. Both archers completely healthy. They will get just a bit of damage in unless they are stopped. And there you go. Log comes in on one side, archer connects on the other. 23-90 to 24-45. Curious to see if Belican will try to use that fisherman to his advantage later on in the game, pulling the cannon carts within Princess Tower range. We've seen that happen quite a bit at CRL. See if that's something that happens today. Mother Witch comes out, fireball in on top of her. That is one of those 100% of the time, 10 out of 10 things. When you see the Mother Witch come down, if you have fireball ready to go, don't try to get value, don't try to get cheeky, just take her off the board before she starts to run rampant. And there you go, Mother Witch out of play. Great time to get the graveyard down. Log in. Dark Prince there as well. Royal Giant working its way across the board. Royal Giant going to stop, though, and turn around, shoot at that cannon card, and then the Mega Minion gets in front. Snowball going to clean everything up off the board, but still, a decent push here. You see Royal Giant down opposite lane. Belican might not have the elixir he needs to deal with this. High Goblin Cage, though, does catch the RG, and there is the Mega Minion in response. Fisherman, though, placed in a really nice spot, going to pull that Brawler away, and honestly, really beautiful interactions on both sides of the board. Belican had just enough elixir to make sure he can stay alive with that Royal Giant push. You'd like to see the pressure created by Ligan in the left-hand lane. And then, of course, that second RG coming down aggressively at the bridge demanded Belican to overspend. And now we see a nice graveyard attempt, but an even better body block at the bridge. Cannon Cart, though, still has a lot of legs. Still has a lot of legs here. Cannon Cart's going to... No, it does not. Dark Prince sneaks in front of the tower just in time. Mega Minions take each other off the board. Dark Prince going to squeeze in front of that Royal Giant. And now we'll see if another high Goblin Cage is placed. It is. And Valkyrie up high as well. Fireball in from Ligan, just trying to create some space, create some damage. Nice play there. Law going to come in and add a little bit more. Belican going to have to start thinking about how he needs to get more damage on tower and how the defenses he's been playing have been a little bit iffy. So we see the cannon cart cycled in the back in the weaker lane. Graveyard in. Mega Minion and cannon cart essentially getting take forward. There's the fisherman pulling that cannon cart in. It will come off of its wheels before it becomes a threat, though. Or it should. There it is. And another Royal Giant down for Ligan. Fisherman up high enough to pull that Valkyrie away. Brawler there, plus cannon cart. Royal Giant still gets one shot in, 1302 to 1584. And now we see that pulled across the bridge. That's exactly what Belican was going for. Archers behind, skeletons on the tower, cannon cart tanking, and that is a beautiful play there by St. Belican. Fireball in on top of the Mother Witch, and 20 seconds remain, and Ligan watches his lead vanish off the board instantaneously. High Valkyrie, high Goblin Cage. Fireball does come in, but that is not going to be enough. St. Belican, perfect on the day. 3 up, 3 down. And Ligan once again trying to laugh this one off, but you know he's hurting right now. He goes from a 3-1 set, moves forward to our semifinals, and St. Belican, 6 games up, 6 games down. Beautiful, beautiful stuff from Dan from the UK, a guy that I've been a big fan of for a long time. He actually came on my channel a long time ago for CRL Spotlight, where he kind of talked me through and coached me a little bit. Did some interviewing with him. And not only is Belican an exceptional player, but he's also an exceptional human being, a guy that I've enjoyed watching grow over the last few years, and very, very happy any opportunity I get to call his matches. So you see right now, Ligan struggling against St. Belly from the UK. Let's take a look at these highlights of these 3 games. We saw this early on, 19 HP. And as I was saying, as this game happened, probably got a little bit tilted after that 19 HP loss. Then you saw early on in game number 2, St. Belican just has to go 1 Lava Loon push. That gets his opponent to send out the Laughing King over and over and over for basically the entirety of that game, which, you know, Ligan is a little bit newer to the competitive scene than Belly, and those emotionless players are the best players because even if something goes wrong, they can't get tilted. And this game was a very fascinating one because I called it early on saying, when will Belican use the Fisherman to his advantage to get that cannon cart pulled in range of the Princess Tower, whether it's shooting at the Princess Tower or just tanking for the Princess Tower? And we saw late game, he saw a golden opportunity, a Fisherman placed up high, cannon cart placed up high on Belican's side of the board, pulls that cannon cart within Princess Tower range, easy pull the trigger there on the graveyard, and an insane amount of damage done. St. Belican going on to our Western European Finals. He's going to face off against whoever the winner is of the elimination side of the bracket. Sasa and Kike Star going to be up next. As you can see, Ligon goes down to the elimination side of the bracket, but he is in the second round, so he'll be playing against the winner of Omer or Game Freak TV. Neither of those matchups obviously happened in our first round. And then Majran and Inthrill will face off against each other to go up against the loser of this set between Sasa and Kike Star. Wow. Just like that, we're already through 5 matches. 5 matches, last one up. Sasa from Montenegro going up against Kike Star from Spain. That is going to be our 6th and final match of the day. And both these guys went 3-1 in their opening sets. And probably both of them looking very closely at the way that St. Belican's been playing, because ideally for one of them, they will move forward and hopefully give him his first 3 losses. But that is a very, very difficult thing to do right now. Belican playing very well, using his win conditions to the utmost. You saw him use Mortar a couple times today, Graveyard a couple times today, Goblin Drill, Magic Archer once, which he did to absolute perfection. And as I've said, and as you guys can probably tell, a big fan of St. Belican and very excited about what we're going to see out of him as we move forward in our Western European Regional Finals. But that was then. This is now. Sasa and Kike Star going up against each other in our 6th and final matchup of the day. Remember, in the Western European Regional Finals, there is over $1,000. There's $1,000 up for grabs, but that does only go to 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. So Golem out early from Kike Star. We'll see how aggressive Sasa wants to get as he sends in a Drill plus, or no, he does. He goes Drill plus Bandit. Bats are out on top of the Goblins. Goblins gonna get tanked for by the Bandit, get a little bit of damage in there on the left-hand or right-hand side. But the left-hand side with the Night Witch plus Golem, you have to wonder if we're gonna see a clone. Nice use of arrows there. Takes the Bomber out of play. Poison comes in as well, but gonna need to get a little bit of damage in on top of that Night Witch if he wants it to go off the board in time. And he does get it off the board just in time. Poison still taken away. Nice placement on that Royal Ghost to get on top of the Night Witch, knowing that he needed to take her off the board so that those bats spawned before that poison went away. So really nice opening sequence here for Sasa, who does have the lead by about 500 HP. Golem once again in the back from Kike Star, and easy Goblin Drill sent in from Sasa, but this time we see a little bit more attention being played to defense. Bomber goes down low, bats up high, and we'll see if a Night Witch comes down here at the bridge. Once again, Night Witch is out from Kike Star. Poison in early on. Royal Ghost is in kind. Yep, there it is. Royal Ghost once again. Gonna get those bats off the board and help clean this Golem up. Golem not going to get death damage on the tower, but those Golemites should make their way on through just to get a little bit more chip damage in. Gets the tower just below 1100 HP. 1029 to 613. Kike Star switching lanes now, knowing that he can't sacrifice much more damage on that right-hand side with only a minute remaining. It's going to be hard for him to build a substantial Golem push in the weak side while defending the weak side. Nice Fire Spirit there. Goblin Drill goes to the back. Poison this time in on the tower as well. And this is exactly what we're talking about. You know that that Golem has to come down in this lane. Goblins are there, though. That's actually a lot of single target DPS that's going to come in. The Night Witch has to come down immediately. There is the Tesla once again. Clone out early on. That Fire Spirit going to do a good job along with that Poison. And that's going to do it. I don't feel like there's any way that Kike Star is able to break on through here. Maybe we get some high skeletons. Yes, we do. There's the Bandit in response. Fire Spirit there to help clean up some of the bats. Prince going to go off the board with that Bomber. and a high Royal Ghost. Great job there from Sasa. Not only did his starting hand kind of allow him to create the pressure that he needed, but he also played very patiently and made sure that he always had those cards that he needed defensively in cycle, which ended up being the Royal Ghost and the Night Witch a couple of times. And the timing on that Night Witch, that's so important for you guys playing at home. And if you don't know this already, which I'm sure most of you guys do, because Golem Clone with Night Witch has been a very popular win condition in the game as of late, you've got to make sure you get a little bit of damage on top of that Night Witch if she's in a poison. The poison on its own is not going to do enough, and you need that damage to come in just a little bit before, I'd say a second and a half before that poison goes off the board, so that that last tick can take the bats away as well, because we all know it doesn't really matter if the Night Witch goes off the boards and there's still 6 bats getting tanked for by that golem. That's still going to be a tower down. So Sasa, Kike Star, game 1 in the books. The Montenegrin, is that how you say it? The man from Montenegro is up 1 game here, doing very, very well against Golem Clone, and you got to know that that was a really nice deck choice from him, recognizing what Kike ran in his previous set, knowing that that's probably one of the things that would have been his worst matchups with his other decks. So he decides to play this one, plays it safe early on. We'll see how he actually has to deal with this deck as it comes out again. J-Man1378 in the chat here. Yes, it is me. I am Andrew Guy commentating here, and I'll be here for the next couple days, at least for the Western European Regional Finals. I would love to stick around for all of Gamestars and do the international group stage and international finals as well. But as I've already said once in this broadcast, that is the future, and this is right now. So here we go, guys. Game number 2 between Sasa and Kike Star. Royal Ghost back into play. Which takes that step forward when the Ghost goes invisible. And Dark Prince going to make easy cleanup there. A lot of bandits and a lot of Dark Princes today, and actually a good amount of cannon carts as well. What I think is really fascinating about the cannon cart rework is, you know, when it got slowed down, it felt like it was a nerf all the way across the board, but as time has gone on, it's actually made it almost more difficult to defend or more difficult to time. And the ability to get a unit in front of that cannon cart to tank for it is a big part of why it being slowed down movement-wise was, in my opinion, again, more of a buff than it was a nerf. There we go. Bandit going to soak up that charge from the Dark Prince. As of right now, both these guys playing pretty cautiously. Goblin Drill hasn't been flying yet, but we're about to get into double elixir, so we'll see how these guys want to turn up the heat in just a moment. I do wish that there was a way for the Mother Witch to spawn a piggy, though, off of the cannon cart, right? Because when it goes off of its wheels, it doesn't spawn a piggy, and I'm pretty sure once it falls completely off of the board, it also doesn't, because at that point, it's a building and not a troop. What do you guys think? Do you think that it should spawn a piggy at some point? Should it spawn a piggy when it first goes off so that it can help a little bit with the cannon cart off of its wheels, or do you guys think it's in a good spot? Mother Witch is already OP enough, right? Nice recognition there from Sasa that he needed to spend that fireball. And Mother Witch distracted a little bit on the left-hand side, but we see some good dual lane pressure coming in. Mother Witch in kind here from Sasa. They both focus on some piggies on either side of the board, and they get a couple more to populate. Here you go. Big time push here. Royal Ghost up high. Ram Rider behind. And Cannon Cart far behind there. Cannon Cart not going to be able to get on top of tower, at least yet, but that should be enough. So we see a Bandit come out as well. The overspend having to come through here from Kike Star, and a very unhealthy Bandit going to make its way across the river. A Bar Barrel is all he needs, and that gives a 1 elixir advantage to Sasa, but he leaked about a half elixir there, so we find ourselves pretty even as we move into overtime. Goblin Drill met with the Dark Prince. Cannon Cart up high again, and it's kind of what we were talking about a moment ago, or I should say I was talking about because I'm by myself. As that Cannon Cart moving a bit more slowly, you see the ability to get a lot more units in front of it. Ram Rider in front. Dark Prince now in front. All of those units tanking for that cannon cart. We see the High Mother Witch looking for maybe any small units, but not really any small units in play that would immediately get piggies on the board, but nice fireball there. Cannon cart gonna need a little bit more attention, especially because that hog or that pig is there, and that allows this Royal Ghost to connect on the left-hand side, and now another Ram Rider comes in. Pressure up here from Sasa. Ram Rider should connect. Wow. Body block there from the Dark Prince, just enough, just in time. Fireball in, gonna clean those two units off the board. Dark Prince gonna be distracted by that pig just long enough to where Sasa doesn't have to overspend here, but he decides to do it anyway so that he can get that barb to tank for that piggy, and just like that, pig gonna get on top of the tower, get a couple of those little nuzzles? Snout bites in? I don't know what to call it. Fireball in on the right-hand side, gonna take the shield off the Dark Prince, and of course gonna clean that Mother Witch up off the board. Now we see the same thing here. Dark Prince plus Cannon Cart push. Cannon Cart behind the Dark Prince. Barb Barrel, though, on top of that Cannon Cart. Gonna make light work of it. As that as the Goblin Drill is back behind that right-hand Princess Tower. Royal Ghost there to help clean up. Royal Ghost, Bomber, Valkyrie, Dark Prince, they're gonna be in your deck at least at some point or another, because you gotta be able to defend against those drills. Drill back in. Royal Ghost cycled early. Perfectly timed there. Fireball does come in time. 1704 to 1710 to 1754. Fireball in just in time. And Sasa does not get ahead of himself. Times that out perfectly. And he is up 2-0 now over Kike Star. Montenegro against Spain. Beautiful stuff here in our final set of the day. That is some of my favorite Clash Royale gameplay. Now, if you don't really know what's going on, it might look a little bit boring, but when you play the game and you recognize the game of chess that was going on there, you know, earlier it felt like we were watching some speed chess. This felt like a classic game of chess. One move at a time, one response to the offensive push, and vice versa. One response to their defense. Get those fireballs in when and where you can. Get that spell damage in where you can. Get those Goblin Drills out as often as possible. But pre-cycling the Royal Ghosts, getting those bridge battles under control, and just holding on for dear life, knowing that you had the slightest lead and that you do have the spell power to push that slight lead into the positive, into the green, and eventually to take the game. I loved what I saw there from both these guys. Both played very, very patiently. However, it was Sasa who was able to create enough pressure, enough times, and get enough spell value in to take game number 2. It's either Cannon Cart, the MVP here, Cannon Cart and Dark Prince, 16 times for those two cards on one side of the board. Actually, you know what? I'll do you one better. You add in that Royal Ghost on one side, we got 24. You add in the Bandit on the other side, you also got 24. Those were the MVPs from each respective player. And here we go. Game number 3. Kike Star trying to stay in the upper side of the bracket. Does not want to get sent down to the elimination side of this bracket. Sasa, though, making it really difficult here in his first 2 games. Fishboy not going to get any damage in. Well, any substantial damage, I should say. 2374 to 2362 with that fireball. And just slow plays here early on. Seems pretty on brand for both of these guys. Pretty methodical players. No one trying to make anything too crazy happen early on. Bar barrel plays from Sasa I've really loved. I've loved the moments that he's found room for those bar barrels to come in and just create a little bit of damage, or just that offensive presence that really demands a response. Sometimes it's, you know, sometimes you'll just take those bar barrel hits, you'll take those to min-max, get more damage on the board. But what we've seen time and time out of him is that he's not just getting the bar barrel down to maybe get the 2 swings in. He's also always trying to complement whatever he has surviving to create, to make something that could be somewhat effective to something that is very effective. Dark Prince feels like between Dark Prince and Bandit, those feel like the two most used cards today. And we've only seen Royal Giant out once, which is a very popular win condition here on top ladder and meta. Fireballs a flying. A little bit of leaked elixir on both sides of the board, trying to see how their opponents want to respond. See that Electro Wizard come down, then immediately a Goblin Cage came down. It was about a half leaked elixir from Sasa to decide he wanted to pull the trigger on the Electro Wizard, and then another half from Kike to decide that the Goblin Cage was the best response here, and now we'll see how he wants to deal with Big Mama P.E.K.K.A. Dark Prince gonna get some good damage in. Fishboy, though, making things tough. Nice Fireball plus Log there to clean up the Mother Witch first, and then the Fisherman second. And Mama P.E.K.K.A. barely even makes her way across that bridge, and there's that Royal Ghost. Royal Giant, excuse me. Royal Giant does get pulled, but not far enough away to make it so that he won't get a shot in on this tower. Electro Wizard is still there, but damage done, 1648 to 2190. Kike Star in the lead for what feels like the first time in this whole set. And you don't want to pull the trigger on the Fireball there, even though you can get Princess Tower value and the E-Wiz off the board. Gotta always save that Fireball for the Mother Witch. Here we go, Mega Minion out first. Fireball on top of the Mother Witch. Easy pickings there for Kike Star. And with the Fisherman placed where it is, he has enough on the board. Sasa has enough on the board to know that it would be foolish for Kike to pull the trigger on another Royal Giant there. And now we see the Fishboy gonna pull that Mama P.E.K.K.A. up close. Log knocks everything back, knocks that E-Wiz back. You see a high Mother Witch here as well. Now Mother Witch gonna populate the board with a couple, nope, just one Piggy. Mama P.E.K.K.A. trying to tank for it, but a nice cleanup there from Kike Star. Royal Giant doing work right now. Fisherman comes down very late, 880 with only 40 seconds remaining. And now this feels like probably the last ditch effort for Sasa in this specific game. Ram Rider, though, gonna come in. Ram Rider gets that unit off the board. Ram Rider still healthy enough and doesn't connect, but can we see a high P.E.K.K.A. here get pulled in by the Fishboy? We do not, we see Dark Prince instead. Dark Prince is there, 880 to 978. This game that all of a sudden felt wrapped up is now getting much closer than Kike Star would like. He does have the spell power, though. Ram Rider not going to connect. Does get the second cage down. 808 to 806. 806 Fireball does come in. 636 just in time. We are going to game number 4. My goodness, that is as close as it gets. 2 HP separating. Fireball comes in the final second and pushes us to a game number 4, and Kike Star does enough to stay alive there. It felt like the game slipped through his fingers in the final moments. He felt like the only offensive presence that came in that entire game, it felt like, was from him. But slow and steady is Sasa. He kept creating moments to get just a little bit of damage in, get some more Fireball damage in, take those Mother Witches off the board. He saved that Ram Rider for what felt like an eternity. 4 minutes plus it felt like that Ram Rider hadn't come out. And then Ram Rider at the very end starts to create just enough of a threat for his opponent. But I loved what Kike Star did there. Instead of going for the win, instead of going for the kill, he gets that second Goblin Cage down, protects his tower just enough, then gets the Fireball in the final second to go to game number 4. You love to see it in our 6th matchup of the day here in our Western European Regional Finals. Gamestars League Season 2. That's right, Season 2. There was one moment there late game where it looked like if Sasa wanted, he could have got that P.E.K.K.A. pulled up close and in that Fishboy's face, but he knew that he didn't have enough elixir to complement that push with the Ram Rider, or really anything that would create any offensive presence. So what would have happened then is if he dropped that P.E.K.K.A. down, would have got pulled in by the Fishboy, would have most likely been cleaned up by a bit of an overspend from Kike Star, but then there would have really been nothing at all to stop those Royal Giants. And The only thing that he could have done was place a fisherman to pull it, but there's no way his opponent would have allowed him to do that. So Sasa doing what everyone loves to see. Lava first play, and Fishboy gonna take some damage there from the Dark Prince. Allow that King Tower to get activated, which is gonna make that opposite lane pressure all the more difficult to create for Kike. Goblin Drill gonna pull that balloon to King Tower. Nice job there. Does get the King Tower activation on both sides of the board. Bandit connects for Kike on that left-hand side. Miner gonna come in and try to tank for those pups. And wow, really interesting exchange there. It felt like the Miner should have taken the attention from that Fire Spirit, but is not the case. Fire Spirit hops on about half of those lava pups. And what would have been a substantial lead for Sasa, that one elixir, pesky Fire Spirit, cleans most of that up. And for you guys that haven't been paying attention, that Fire Spirit is getting a bit of a nerf from a 2.5 damage radius to a 2.3. And while it might seem very inconsequential or a small amount, that's going to make a big time difference in how strong that card is in the meta at the moment. Do you like the play there? Goblin Drill goes up high to keep the Tesla on the board. Problem is that Balloon still having enough HP. Wow. Gets the balloon drop, tanks for the pups for a second. Fire Spirit does come in. 355 to 818. Kike Star not quite out of this one yet, as he is with his back up against the wall. These are best of fives. His opponent only needs to win one more game. Miner defensively plus minions, and that is not going to be enough to take... Oh, wow. It is enough to get the Bandit. Nice targeting there. Really nice defense there. And we see a Goblin Drill come in, but a Bomber plus Fishboy in response. And now a good amount of pressure here in the left-hand lane from Kike Star, and he does get the Lava Hound up high, but not in front of the Inferno. Defensive Poison comes out for Kike Star. Inferno back down. Tower goes down. We'll see if he wants to use that advantage now that the tower is down to drop units on the other side of the board to distract. Goblin Drill going to pull the balloon in. Fishboy is there, though. He was looking for it this time. Fishboy is going to be able to tank for just a moment. Balloon gets that down. Going to need a response here for the Bandit. Wow, Inferno sizzles the tower away, and that is going to do it. 14-14 to 211. Yes, there is still the potential for Kike to take that right-hand tower, but he is going to need a miracle. He's going to need divine intervention for this to work out. Miner goes in through, Fishboy on the tower, and that's going to do it. Sasa works his way through 2 sets, and he will be playing up against St. Belican in our upper bracket finals. That was a fun set. That was a very, very fun back and forth, especially those lava first play games. It's always really interesting to see how their opponents are going to create enough pressure in the opposite lane, all the while defending against those balloons, which is very, very difficult. In the meta that we're in right now, Lava Loon has a very interesting matchup position where you either have a very strong matchup or a very difficult matchup. And I know that doesn't sound like too dissimilar from a lot of other, archetypes in the meta. But when you look at what we have here, without the buff to poison yet, it is very difficult to stop those balloons. And you can do minor loon pushes. The only air units that they really have is, or to focus on air units, is really that Tesla, and then the Goblin Drill being being used to redirect, of course, that balloon, which kind of worked out for Kike for a little while, but not when it was all said and done. 166 HP separated the two of them there in game number 2. As we get to game number 3, we saw this game go back and forth for a very long time, but Kike Star picked up his first win of the set. That Royal Giant doing some work for him. Only dropped a couple times, but it was really all about spell value there for a while. Nice plays there at the very end. And this is exactly what we're talking about. There's enough damage on both sides of the board, but that Inferno Dragon, one of my favorite cards in the game, because if you don't have something that can keep that Inferno distracted for long enough or reset it, you are in a world of hurt if you ever misplay those interactions. And we saw right there, Inferno connects on the left-hand tower, takes that tower down, and then it becomes a very, very easy 2-tower game. Those are the decks Those are the win percentages. And here is our bracket. St. Belican and Sasa. That is going to be our upper bracket final. One of them is going to go on through to our grand finals where they'll be playing against the winner of our elimination side of the bracket. But remember, guys, this is a double elimination format. So that means if you lose once, you're not out. That's why we're seeing Majran, Inthrill, Game Freak, and of course, Omer, at the bottom of your screen in that loser's bracket or in that elimination side of the bracket. Tomorrow, we'll be back. Same time, same place, 8 o'clock Central European Summertime, 10 a.m. here on the West Coast. And what a fun day it was here in our first day of the Western European Regional Finals, my first day back in GameStars Season 2. Remember, this is one of the biggest and best tournaments out there for the semi-pro amateur scene. St. Belican, though, a name that you've probably been pretty familiar with if you've watched Clash Royale at all over the last 4 years, was untouchable today. He was the MVP of our first day here in the Western European Regional Finals. $1,000 up for grabs here in this part of the bracket, but over $30,000 in that prize pool when it's all said and done for GameStars. So what a great opening day it is. It's a great Friday. You get to enjoy your Friday night, or for people like me here on the West Coast, the rest of your Friday as we get into the weekend. And we'll be back all weekend long, 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. Central European Summertime. We will see you guys tomorrow. And remember, keep on clashing.
And we're back. GameStars Clash Royale Season 2 is running full steam, packed with high-octane action, intricate strategy, and mountains of gold. Mix the elixirs and hop on your hog, Chief. Time to find out who will dominate the clans. Subscribe, join our stream, and witness brave heroes fighting in GameStars Clash Royale Season 2. Ride on, Piggy!